The 8th year of the Great Xia, September 16th, late night. On the Bluestone Road, over 30 kilometers north of binge camp, a grand convoy is marching north majestically. The convoy comprises over 3,000 people. While 70 to 80% wear golden battle armor, careful observation reveals distinctions among them. The convoy is roughly divided into three parts. The front group of nearly 1,000 wears the brightest golden battle armor, glowing under the firelight, forming a long procession of 10 people per rank, moving in an orderly pace as a golden stream flowing slowly northward. In the middle are 8 massive cargo iron wheel cars, 10 meters long and 5 meters wide. In front of each vehicle, 50 people pull with chains, while around 50 more push from the sides and back, with others ready to rotate in as needed. These people are clearly the driving force behind the iron wheel cars. The last group, more scattered, is over 1,000 people casually dressed, some in light golden armor, others in black iron armor, ranging from the young to the old, leisurely conversing while walking. Luoan Zuping, Xia Hong, Yuan Bai, Zhao Yuandao, Zhao Yuankang, and dozens of other young people from Great Xia are in the rear of the convoy, often glancing curiously at the Dragon Martial Army at the forefront. Isn't Yuan Sijang's Dragon Martial Army supposed to be stationed at Bashang? Why are they joining us on this return trip? Hong Yi in the convoy couldn't help but voice his confusion. The others turned with similar expressions, clearly puzzled by this matter. The cargo in those 8 cars might be too precious, don't you remember? From White Tiger Pond, things like Jiao long scales, ores, spirit plants, and the silver mine from Bashing City recently, plus the bounty from He Yin Station's recent hunting teams. All these might be why Yuan Sijang felt uneasy, so he's escorting them with the Dragon Martial Army personally. Upon hearing Zhu Ping's reply, many people in the convoy nodded in agreement. But a few older ones like Xiao Hen, Yuan Bai, Zhao Yuandao, and Zhao Yuankang thought for a moment, then shook their heads slightly. Probably not. No matter how precious, it's unlikely they'd need the Dragon Martial Army for escort. We depart from Bashing City, past Juk, and then Binjiang to reach Hongmen. Binjiang is Jiangxia territory. What danger could there be? It's definitely not a safety issue. Xiao Hen spoke up, followed by Zhao Yuankang. Definitely not. Don't forget, it's not just the Dragon Martial Army. Elite members from mid-level and high-level hunting teams from He Yin, Juk, and Bashing City are in the convoy too. Why deploy so many for potential danger? Upon hearing this, the crowd quickly looked towards the front of the convoy, nodded, and suddenly became confused. As Zhao Yuankang mentioned, among these 3,000, apart from the Dragon Martial Army at the front, the remaining 2,000 are elite selections from various mid- and high-level hunting teams, at least at Earth-digging realm limit cultivation. Hardly a reason for such a grand operation considering the escort route's risk level. Yuan Sijang personally leading, with the exploration competition also on hold, something significant must be happening. Could it be related to Xia City? Hearing Zhao Yuankang's words, the crowd furrowed brows but soon relaxed, shaking their heads at him. What could happen in Xia City? No way. If Xia City were in trouble, the Dragon Martial Army would have rushed back long ago, rather than leisurely escort supplies like this. I was confused. Zhao Yuankang realized his absurd guess, but, unable to figure out the reason, continued walking forward filled with confusion. It's a pity Xia Hong isn't here. He'd surely know more than us. Yuan Bai suddenly remarked, prompting envy from the crowd. He broke through the 15,000-pound mark with that pound of Jiao long blood given by the Lord, achieving top-grade battle body talent. Amazing. More than that, he also surpassed cold resistance level, achieving 3 main strength upon breakthrough. Even Bashing City took note, and Vice Commander Yuan Yang from the Dragon Martial Army verified it personally at He Yin Station. Lord Yuan personally invited him into the Dragon Wu team. I heard Dragon Wu team is basically the reserve for Dragon Martial Army now. Whenever they need recruits, they choose from Dragon Wu team first. I know this was pioneered by the minister, recruiting talented individuals with hunting teams sharing army numbers, quickly filling any vacancies. Other armies emulate this now, but Dragon Wu and Cloud Jiao squads have the strictest selection criteria. To enter these teams, cold resistance level is the baseline. Without cultivation at the cold resistance level, don't even try. Cold resistance level cultivation requirement is too simplistic. Last month, the Cloud Jiao team stated the minimum power for applicants must be 3 mained or above. Gulp. Then the dragon martial army is probably similar, so even with Xia Hong's power, he's just barely qualified. Xia Hong's talent is key. Lord Yuan values his top-grade battle body talent. His power will only grow stronger over time. Chapter 1181. Chapter 401. The logistics team Xia Hong's impact, the naturally sociable Chen Qing, arrival at Hongmen. Everyone was talking at once, almost revealing everything about Xia Hong. The surrounding people, upon hearing this, didn't show much shock on their faces. Xia Hong broke through 3 days ago, which shook Yin, Bashing, and all the station points within Juke, so this matter is almost known to everyone. The price for the Jiao Long blood has not yet been set by the camp's supply department, but with Xia Hong's breakthrough, the final price should be on par with a level 6 spiritual pill, with each pound expected to be at least 30,000 contribution points. As Xiao Hen finished speaking, the eyes of the gathered young people suddenly lit up with interest. 30,000 contribution points is not a small amount. With their own finances, it certainly won't do, but after all, they all have some background. If they can't manage it on their own, they can rely on their fathers and brothers. This Jiao Long blood is something they absolutely cannot miss. I originally thought that having a top-level combat body qualification was good enough, but now I see I have been too easily satisfied. If I want to make a greater impact in the camp in the future, if I want to go further, a battle body qualification is the threshold. I must do my utmost to strive for a top-grade battle body qualification. A trace of determination flashed across Xiao Hen's face, and he clenched his fist beneath his sleeve. Not far from Xiao Hen, Zhao Yuankong thought about his current basic strength, which was just over 98,000 caddies, still a bit short of a top-level combat body, and the skin membrane was beginning to be somewhat onerous, leaving him a little defeated. Turning to his sister Zhao Yuando, he couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Sister, your basic strength is already 110,000 caddies. Is there any hope to continue striving for a top-grade battle body qualification?" Zhao Yuando, upon hearing her brother's question, showed a somewhat low expression, then shook her head and said, "Probably not much hope, but with Xia Hong as an example, I must do my utmost to delay my breakthrough time. This time it's the Jiao Long blood, and with the Lord's impressive power, who knows what treasures he might place in the camp's supply department in the future. You and I should accumulate more contribution points for now, as opportunities may arise unexpectedly." Upon hearing his sister's words, Zhao Yuankong recalled how the Lord Xia Hong had already transformed the defender-level Yuan Cheng, Lu Yang, and Su Ning into top-grade battle body qualifications after their breakthroughs, and a glimmer of hope instantly rose in his heart, nodding heavily. Yuan Bai glanced at his peers Xiao Hen, Zhao Yuando, and the others, and he naturally understood what they were all thinking upon seeing the expressions on their faces. My basic strength is now 99,000 caddies, just one step away from a top-level combat body. Before, I thought aiming for a top-level combat body was enough, but now I see it's far from sufficient. A top-level combat body of 100,000 caddies among peers can at most be considered excellent, but not outstanding. I too need to delay my breakthrough time, and although striving for a top-grade battle body qualification may be out of reach, I should at least make my battle body qualification as good as possible. After a moment of contemplation, Yuan Bai's face was also filled with determination. The sensation caused by Xia Hong's breakthrough had clearly stimulated Zhao Yuando, Zhao Yuankong, Xiao Hen, Yuan Bai, and their peers. After all, they're of similar age, and even if the competitive spirit isn't considered, vanity alone is enough to make them all look up to Xia Hong. Xiao Hen and these people are all in their early 20s, slightly older, and tend to hide their inner thoughts. However, the likes of Luo and Zhu Ping, Lu Dong, Zhao Yuanchen, Hong Yi, Liu Peng, Xiao Yan, Luo Cheng, who are only 16 or 17 years old, tend to show it more bluntly. Zhu Ping, I must strive for a top-grade battle body qualification. Me too, my father told me without a top-grade battle body qualification, it will be hard to break through to Xianyang level in the future. I also want to strive. The steadfast voices of a group of teenagers rising and falling created a small disturbance within the group, and the older members of the group, hearing the enthusiastic shouts, showed faces of comfort mixed with sighs, unable to help but comment. Look, now even breaking through to cold resistance level isn't a big deal anymore. These kids are all aiming for top-grade battle body qualifications. These kids, they're catching a good time. Back when I was at 5-8 Mountain, Even getting a few in the earth-digging realm would make the whole camp celebrate. Hahaha, indeed, I'm from 5-8 Mountain too. Back then, we couldn't find a single cold resistance level there. It was dismal. Cold resistance level probably doesn't mean much now. Our great Xia has at least 5 or 6,000 at cold resistance level, right? Probably, with this bashing population migration, I've heard another 500 cold resistance levels are to be merged in, around 6,000 in total probably. Cold resistance level certainly doesn't mean much now. It's all about strength. We have 58 station points across the Great Xia territory, and it's said that any official at or above defender level basically has strength at 15 levels or more. Just breaking through to cold resistance level, unless, like Xia Hong, someone with outstanding qualifications gets noticed by the Dragon Martial Army, one would at most become a soldier in armies like Dragon Slayer or Tiger Leopard. Soon, you may not even qualify as a soldier. The cold resistance level soldiers in the Dragon Slayer, Tiger Leopard, and other 13 armies are increasing. I hear that in the newly established armies, Black Arrow, Qingjiao, East Sun, and Fei Ping, each already has 200 at cold resistance level, and the other 9 armies are estimated at least 300 each. That's not right. Just the cold resistance level personnel in these 15 armies add up to more than 5,000. How many cold resistance levels does our great Xia really have now? Upon hearing this final question, the ongoing heated discussion among them suddenly fell silent, and everyone, including Xiao Hen and Luo and's group of young people, found themselves looking at each other in confusion. Chapter 1182, Chapter 401, The Supply Convoy, Xia Hong's Impact, The Sociable Chen Qing, and Arrival at Hongmen /3. They really don't know exactly how many cold resistance level members Great Xia currently has. What the people at the rear do not know is, the subject of their heated discussion, Xia Hong, is currently in the snow forest area 5 kilometers ahead of the convoy, standing guard for the army. In just this half hour, I've sensed the presence of more than 100 people. Are there really so many people going to Hongmen City recently? In the snow forest, Xia Hong, clad in 1,000 forged thunder QE golden armor, stood atop a large tree, sensing several auras sweeping westward from the north, a slight look of confusion appearing on his face. The troops of Great Xia march with discipline. Once the army moves, the reconnaissance camp soldiers must all disperse and remain alert within the 10-kilometer region ahead and behind the marching team. Any signs of disturbance must be reported to the commander immediately. This rule was established by Yuan Dao himself, and the Dragon Martial Army, as his direct unit, naturally leads by example in observing and executing it. At this moment, Xia Hong is executing the guard duty. Supposedly, Xia Hong is just a member of the Dragon Wu team currently, not even a formal soldier of the Dragon Martial Army. Guarding the marching team is the work of the reconnaissance camp in the Dragon Martial Army, and he should have nothing to do with this task. This highlights the attention Xia Hong receives in the Dragon Martial Army. Invited personally by Vice Commander Yuan Yang to join the team, even named by Director Yuan Dao, Xia Hong naturally receives different treatment from the other members of the Dragon Wu team. When Xia Hong arrived in Bashing City 2 days ago, he thought he would have to hunt with the Dragon Wu team for a period before smoothly entering the Dragon Martial Army. Who could have imagined that reconnaissance camp colonel Zhu Yang would directly issue him a set of 1,000 forged thunder QE golden armor, then inform him that henceforth he could take action with the Dragon Martial Army. The Dragon Martial Army is full at 1,000 members indeed, but it's not impossible to make exceptions. Talents shouldn't be constrained. Although you're not currently an official member of the Dragon Martial Army, familiarizing and blending with the army holds no issue. These were Zhu Yang's words at that time, and upon hearing them, Xia Hong was naturally overjoyed. Not to mention other aspects, just the 1,000 forged thunder QE golden armor granted by Zhu Yang had been his object of envy for years, and now he finally dons it as he wished, excitement reaching its peak in his heart. After entering the Dragon Martial Army, Xia Hong was unsurprisingly assigned to the elite reconnaissance camp, currently under the command of reconnaissance camp Colonel Zhu Yang. If I hadn't entered the Dragon Martial Army, I wouldn't even have known that Lord Yuan Dao has already stepped down from the commander position. Currently, the Dragon Martial Army commander is Hu Quan, Vice Commander Yuan Yang, and reconnaissance camp Colonel Zhu Yang. With this realization, Xia Hong paused and silently mused in his heart. It's understandable. Lord Yuan, after all, is the director of the military department, with too many affairs to manage, certainly leaving no time to oversee daily trainings of the Dragon Martial Army. By such reasoning, the minister should have also stepped down from the commander position of the Cloud Dragon Army, with Liu Yuan currently assuming the commander role of the Cloud Dragon Army. This Liu Peng kid indeed has quite a tight lip. Although Liu Peng is 7 years younger than himself, he holds quite a reputation in the inner city, which Xia Hong naturally recognizes, simultaneously aware that Liu Yuan is his elder brother. Liu Yuan assumed the commander role of the Cloud Dragon Army. Liu Peng certainly knows this but has never disclosed it, demonstrating this kid's discretion. Xia Hong, any situation. Suddenly, a voice emerged from beneath the tree. Xia Hong promptly composed himself and jumped down, seeing the person, and quickly bowed. Reporting to the captain, there are another 6 people who passed by towards the direction of Hongmen City, likely cold resistance level members from the 7 towns in the north, unrelated to the marching team. The reconnaissance camp consists of 5 teams, each with 20 members, and Xia Hong happened to be assigned to the 5th team. Standing before him, a man in golden armor, was Zhang Qingyuan, the captain of the 5th team. When Xia Hong was assigned to the 5th team 2 days ago, he couldn't help but feel a bit dissatisfied in his heart, thinking with his top-grade battle body talent, the moment he breaks through, possessing the strength of 3 caps, he should be in the 1st team. But upon truly entering the camp and witnessing the 100 people of the reconnaissance camp, he realized just how laughable his previous thought was. He can't even discern the cultivation level of anyone in the reconnaissance camp, which means every soldier in the camp holds strength superior to his. It was at this moment Xia Hong truly understood what elite meant, thoroughly letting go of his arrogance and dutifully playing the role of a little soldier. In the following 2 days, through inquiries, he learned the 100 members of the reconnaissance camp all possess basic strength of 6 caps or above. Any captain holds basic strength of at least 12 caps, not to mention the 9 camp captains. The strength of Colonel Zhu Yang in his reconnaissance camp is as high as 16 caps. For instance, Zhang Qingyuan before him was a long-renowned cold resistance level expert from the original Zhejiang camp, now possessing strength of up to 14 caps. What does 14 caps mean? Even though Xia Hong possesses a top-grade battle body, upon breaking through the late-stage cold resistance, he would only hold strength of 12 caps. Crucially, would Zhang Qingyuan remain stationary waiting for him to break through? With the financial resources of the Dragon Martial Army soldiers, monthly allocations of Dragon Carp Pill, Green Cod Pill, and Black Death Pill are fully available. Surpassing any soldier in the army is certainly not an easy task. You've undergone quite a change in these last 2 days. Your disposition isn't bad. Xia Hong's mental activities were unreadable by Zhang Qingyuan, but the transformation of this young man in the short span of 2 days in the Dragon Martial Army was understood very clearly by him. From the initial arrogance to now letting go of his pride and dutifully performing the tasks expected of a little soldier, achieving such a transformation in just 2 days, considering Xia Hong's age, having this disposition is truly precious. Chapter 1183. Chapter 401. The Supply Convoy. Xia Hong's influence. Chen Qing the Sociable. Arrival at Hongmen. This is a top-grade battle body. Zhang Qingyuan looked at Xia Hong, thinking that this kid had a top-grade battle body, and couldn't help but show some envy in his eyes. He possessed the qualification of a lower war body, and at 54 years of age, his strength only reached 10 zong when he broke through to the peak of cold resistance 2 years ago. Originally, he had no chance for further improvement. Fortunately, last year, the Lord developed the Huayuan waters, producing dragon carp and green cod, along with the subsequent Black Death Pill, which allowed him to continue improving, reaching the current strength of 14 zong. Zong is also quite good. In the 9 towns at the southern foot of Mo Mountain, it could be considered a good hand. However, compared to the current elites of the camp, it indeed pales a bit. Especially in front of Xia Hong, who had 3 zong strength right after breaking through. In the future, when reaching the late stage of cold resistance, his strength would easily surpass his own, reaching 24 zong without even using Dan medicine, thus entering the rank of the 9 towns experts. Further improvement with Dan medicine would be even more terrifying. The key is that a top-grade battle body also holds great hope of breaking through to the Xianyang level. Not to mention the strength increase at the Xianyang level. Just the lifespan of 200 years alone is enough to drive someone at Zhang Qingyuan's age crazy. Zhang Qingyuan took a slight breath to calm down, then thought about this young man in front of him. As long as nothing unexpected happens in the future, his strength will surely continue to rise, and his status in the Great Xia will also grow higher and higher. Inevitably, he had some thoughts in his mind, and asked with a smile, Xia Hong, you should be quite puzzled seeing so many people from the 7 towns in the north heading to Hongmen City just now, right? Upon hearing this, Xia Hong immediately nodded, full of curiosity in his eyes. Zhang Qingyuan, being the captain of the Dragon Martial Army, naturally knew more about the situation than these people. Seeing the curiosity in Xia Hong's eyes, he smiled and said, the day after tomorrow, there is going to be a big event in Hongmen City. The northern 3 towns have jointly sent an external decree to our Great Xia, accusing Director Yuan of killing people from the Beishuo Chamber of Commerce. Yang Fazheng has gathered people from various towns to cause a disturbance in Hongmen City, thus the Lord summoned us. As Zhang Qingyuan unfolded the story of the Beishuo Chamber of Commerce crowd being killed, Xia Hong suddenly realized the reason behind the Dragon Martial Army personally coming over to escort supplies, why the exploration competition at the Heyin Station was terminated, and why these people were also required to escort the supplies. All these series of puzzles were now answered. After listening, Xia Hong thought for less than a moment before he had the answer, looked up at Zhang Qingyuan, and asked, the 3 towns want to take this opportunity to unite with various towns to suppress our Great Xia's recently rising momentum. The Lord called us all back to completely establish the title of the first town of Mo for our Great Xia. Isn't that right, Captain? Zhang Qingyuan froze for a moment. To be honest, when he first learned about these matters, he hadn't thought so deeply, only feeling that the Lord was worried that the power of the northern 3 towns was too strong, thus gathering them to Hongmen to prepare for defense. It was only after Xia Hong's reminder that he realized that Xia Hong this time really likely had this intention as well. Well done, kid, you're smarter than me. Xia Hong at this age was even younger than his own son, so Zhang Qingyuan naturally wouldn't feel embarrassed, directly admitting that the other party thought it through more deeply and praised him. The captain is overpraising, Xia Hong just trusts in the Lord's strength. After modestly saying so, Xia Hong paused and then continued. If that's the case, I think everyone from the various stations in the Great Xia territory should arrive in Hongmen City before the 18th, which explains why I heard in Bashing City that yesterday, as soon as we set out, Director Su led a second batch of people to set out the next evening. The total distance from Bashing to Hongmen City is roughly over 130 kilometers. The straight road of 80 kilometers built within Bashing and Juk territory could be covered in half a night. But the 50 kilometers of road between Binjiang and Hongmen was not built, adding to the fact that more than 3,000 people and 8 giant iron wheel cars made the marching speed inevitably slow. Tonight is their second night marching after setting out from Bashing City. It is also the last night, as they will soon reach Hongmen City. Although Su Ning set out a day later than them, without any cargo burden, he should also be able to reach Hongmen City tonight. At this moment, Zhang Qingyuan fully agreed with Xia Hong's speculation, nodded and smiled. You're sharp, kid. You'll make a good scout in the future. No wonder Captain Zhu directly put you in the reconnaissance camp. The captain is giving too much credit. Being young, after hearing Zhang Qingyuan's continued praise, Xia Hong, despite his humble words, couldn't help but show a smile on his face. All right, continue to the front for vigilance. The army is about to arrive. Xia Hong obeys the order. The reconnaissance camp disperses for vigilance according to plan. It's overseen by Captain Zhu Yang, who allocates sectors to the 5 scout teams, and then the team leaders further divide individual vigilance areas. Xia Hong is part of the 5th team, so he naturally follows Zhang Qingyuan's orders. After nodding in agreement, he moves slowly forward to the north for vigilance. However, after only traveling 5 or 6 kilometers north, following the Bluestone Road and turning west for another kilometer, he could see the shadow of Hongmen City's walls. Here we are. Xia Hong was responsible for the front-line position of the marching troops, just 5 kilometers ahead of the main army. If the Dragon Martial Army were to march alone, even on normal snowfields, it could easily cover 50 kilometers in an hour. But this time, escorting a large amount of supplies and accompanied by over 1,000 Earth-digging realm limit individuals, the pace was naturally slower, only covering 15 kilometers an hour. Chapter 1184, Chapter 401, The Supply Convoy. Xia Hong's influence. The sociable Chen Yiking, arrival at Hongmen. 5 kilometers shouldn't be a problem, we can relax a bit. Although Xia Hong continued to keep vigilant in the snow forest, His gaze was quickly attracted by the constant appearance of crowds on the Bluestone Road. Yes, crowds. Since Hongmen opened in July, many cold resistance levels from the 7 towns continued to flock here, almost every night. Jia Hong had heard about this situation long ago. But tonight's situation is clearly a bit abnormal. On the Bluestone Road leading to Hongmen City, almost every few minutes, a wave of people would pass by, ranging from a few to a dozen, all heading towards Hongmen City. Just by their attire, Jia Hong could recognize they were cold resistance levels from village-level camps within the 8 towns' territory. Connecting it with what Zhang Qingyuan just mentioned, he quickly deduced what they were here for. The day after tomorrow, you guess, can Great Xia withstand the pressure from the northern 3 towns? Probably not. It's not just the northern 3 towns this time. Chewy Mountain has clearly stated they will support the 3 towns. Yonk and Dragon Valley's towns haven't released any news yet, but I reckon they will ultimately side with the northern 3 towns, making it 6 towns pressuring Great Xia. 6 towns? I think it's 8 towns. Mayan and Jiangxia haven't spoken up yet. Didn't you notice? Given Great Xia's support for these 2 towns recently, their silence is a statement in itself. With 8 towns united, even Great Xia's strength is useless. Aside from handing over Yuan Cheng, there's no other option. Yang Fan and his group truly died, but who knows if Yuan Cheng did it. Perhaps he did lead the attack himself. Beishuo isn't wrong to accuse him. Handing over a director will resolve this calamity. Great Xia should compromise. Is it about handing over someone? That's easy. The problem is that this confrontation will decide the future relationship between Great Xia and the northern 3 towns. If they compromise this time, what about next time? I doubt Great Xia will compromise so easily. It's a shame. Great Xia finally opens up, offering cultivation resources to us, but the northern 3 towns can't stay patient. And if they truly suppress Great Xia, people like us will suffer. What can we do? Our village-level camps are nothing compared to the 8 towns. We can only hope Great Xia can withstand the pressure from the 3 towns. While these people headed to Hongmen City, they were openly discussing the matter between the northern 3 towns and Great Xia. Jia Hong, perched in a tree, overheard a lot. The northern 3 towns made matters known to everyone. Most of these people are likely heading to Hongmen City for a spectacle, wanting to know immediately who, between the northern 3 towns and Great Xia, will prevail. Jia Hong coldly chuckled at this thought, his expression darkening as he looked at the travelers along the road. Since Great Xia opened last July, it has brought many benefits to the cold resistance levels from village-level camps in the Mo 8 towns. From Jia Hong's perspective, these people, if they had any conscience, should support Great Xia and help it resist the pressure from the northern 3 towns. But from their conversations, it's evident most adopt an attitude of self-preservation, unwilling to truly support Great Xia, only hoping it can withstand the northern 3 towns by itself. Humph! Who goes there? Emotionally stirred, Jia Hong couldn't help but let out a cold snort. His cold snort startled an 8-person group headed to Hongmen City. The group leader was an honest-looking middle-aged man, who immediately noticed Jia Hong hiding in the tree and turned to look in his direction. As a scout, being discovered isn't exactly honorable, so Jia Hong's expression naturally darkened. But knowing this group was merely traveling normally and that he had alarmed them first, he calmed himself, jumped down from the tree and said to the middle-aged man, "I meant no disturbance, please continue your journey." Seeing Jia Hong's 1,000-forged golden battle armor, the middle-aged man's eyes lit up, and after gazing at Jia Hong for a moment, seeming to recognize something, he trembled slightly and said, "Is that 1,000-forged LitRPG golden armor you're wearing, young friend, one of the renowned Great Xia Dragon Marshal and Cloud Dragon Army members from Mo South Slope?" Jia Hong, at 24 years old, deemed calling himself young friend by the 50-plus-year-old man as nothing strange. The man's shock certainly struck Jia Hong's pride. Although he wasn't officially a member of the Dragon Martial Army, being recognized like this greatly satisfied his vanity, and he couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride in his expression, slightly nodding. "Truly admirable youth. Forgive me for not introducing myself earlier. I'm Chen Yiking, leader of Guiyang village under Danchuan in Beishuo town, and these people are from my village. May I ask your name, young friend?" Having been introduced, Jia Hong hesitated briefly before clasping his hands. "Jia Hong, scout of the Dragon Martial Army in Great Xia. Greetings, Senior Chen." Chen Yiking, quite naturally friendly, immediately turned to signal the 7 people with him, saying, Pay respects to young friend Jai. Chen Yimu greets young friend Jai. Chu Dongning greets young friend Jai. He Yang greets young friend Jai. Truly admirable youth, Zhu Dong pays his respect. The 7 people beside him, 6 men and 1 woman, 4 of the men appearing around Chen Yiking's age, heard this and immediately greeted Xia Hong with smiles, full of warmth. Chapter 1185. Chapter 401. The Supply Convoy Xia Hong's Impact, the Sociable Chen Yiking, Arrival at Hongmen /6. Chen Yu greets Brother Jai. Chen Huang greets Brother Jai. Chu Yanner greets Brother Jai. The remaining 2 men and 1 woman were of a similar age to Xia Hong, also in their early 20s. Their response was noticeably less enthusiastic than the 4 older individuals, merely cupping their hands in a slight bow to Xia Hong. Seeing those 3 young people, all possessing only earth-digging realm cultivation, Xia Hong immediately lost interest and turned to Chen Yiking, his expression somewhat peculiar. He didn't even know how he ended up talking to the other party so far. Having just jumped down from the tree, he simply wanted the 8 people to leave quickly. Yet somehow, he got into a conversation with Chen Yiking and even introduced himself. Brother Jai, don't overthink. Although Chen is of humble origin, I greatly love making friends from all walks of life. Seeing such a heroic youth, I couldn't help but want to build a friendship, forgive my boldness. Hearing Chen Yiking speak so sincerely, Xia Hong felt a bit embarrassed and hurriedly cupped his hands. Senior Chen, no need for that. Xia Hong in Great Xia is not someone of great importance, no need for such courtesy. Upon hearing this, the light in Chen Yiking's eyes grew even brighter, yet he quickly suppressed his emotions and continued sincerely. Not to hide from Brother Jai, Chen has come to Hongmen City, firstly to bring my brothers and juniors to broaden their horizons at the Treasure Tower, and also to buy some cultivation resources. Secondly, hearing about the recent conflict between the northern 3 towns and Great Xia, Chen knows Great Xia's opening in Hongmen in July is immensely beneficial to our village-level camps. Though Guiyang Village is weak, we also wish to contribute to Great Xia in some way. After hearing these words, Xia Hong's heart immediately warmed with goodwill. He could tell, although Chen Yiking and his 5 companions had cold resistance-level cultivation, their strength shouldn't be much beyond his own. Great Xia naturally doesn't lack this kind of support. The issue lies in their attitude, which greatly differs from those who just walked by the Bluestone Road, and the words of Chen Yiking happened to resonate with him. Great Xia's opening brings such immense benefits to village-level camps like Chen Yiking's. He is the one who truly understands gratitude and repayment. At the same time, Chen Yiking finally posed his request. I have an impertinent request, would Brother Jai? Senior Chen, please speak. If it's not too troublesome, Xia Hong can agree. Chen Yiking's face immediately showed a trace of joy, excitedly saying, Chen is unfamiliar with Hongmen City and the Treasure Tower. If Brother Jai does not mind the trouble, could you be a guide for Chen? Just such a simple request. Xia Hong raised his head to look at Chen Yiking, his expression somewhat peculiar, but considering that it was indeed the first time the other came to Hongmen City, it wasn't odd for him to make such a request. After pondering for a moment, he nodded. All right, but Senior Chen, you must first enter Hongmen City, as I still have some matters to attend to here. How about I find you once I'm in the city? Those entering Hongmen City must register their information, and there are only a few places for outsiders to stay, making it easy for Xia Hong to find them. Upon hearing Xia Hong's reply, Chen Yiking's expression was incredibly grateful. Then thank you very much, Brother Jai. After speaking, he no longer lingered and swiftly led the remaining 7, cupping their hands to bid farewell to Xia Hong, heading toward the western direction of Hongmen City. Beishuo Town, Danchuan Jurisdiction, Guiyang Village. This person is really quite familiar but not highly skilled, including the 4 around him. Judging from the movement of their chi muscle, they shouldn't exceed 10 bristles. Watching the backs of the departing 8 people, Xia Hong shook his head slightly. With such limited strength, if they had any ill intentions, he wouldn't be afraid. Moreover, it's merely a chance encounter and their request wasn't excessive. At most, he could guide them casually around the city. Those 3 young people's strength is too weak. They're about my age yet still in earth-digging realm. This Guiyang village must not be strong either. Xia Hong did not let this matter delay his primary mission. He continued to diligently keep watch in the snow forest on both sides of the Bluestone Road. After roughly half an hour, the army finally reached his position. The Dragon Martial Army's discipline was very strict. Even upon seeing the silhouette of Hongmen City, they remained silent until the commander Hu Quan ordered to halt. However, those escorting the vehicles and the rearward young individuals with earth-digging realm limit cultivation were not so well behaved. Seeing Hongmen City silhouette, everyone's expressions immediately relaxed. We're here. Finally here. We can rest in Hongmen City. Only 3 hours left till dawn. Shouldn't have to continue, right? Certainly not. We should rest in Hongmen today. Most people were unaware of what lay ahead, assuming it was a routine escort of goods back to Xia City, so resting in Hongmen City was only for a day, and by nightfall, they would continue along the Xing River's north bank back to Xia City. Zhu Yang, bring the entire reconnaissance camp back to the ranks. Understood. At the forefront, Commander Hu Quan suddenly ordered. Zhu Yang replied loudly and immediately blew the whistle, and the scattered scouts, including Xia Hong, within 100 breaths quickly regrouped into teams, standing at the front of the army, joining the march. Reporting to the commander, 105 members of the reconnaissance camp have regrouped. Upon hearing Zhu Yang's report, Hu Quan promptly continued loudly, Dragon Martial Army, accelerate. Register at the city gate and enter quickly, don't delay those behind. Yes. At Hu Quan's command, the soldiers of the Dragon Martial Army all shouted in response, and the initially slow-moving soldiers suddenly accelerated, their marching speed visibly increasing by 4 to 5 times, quickly pulling away from the vehicle convoy behind. This sudden acceleration by the Dragon Martial Army instantly left Xiao Hen, Yuan Bai, Zhao Yuandao, and other young individuals bewildered. So earlier wasn't the Dragon Martial Army's real marching speed. It must have been to accommodate the convoy and us. I just realized, all Dragon Martial Army soldiers have cold resistance level cultivation. Their marching speed shouldn't be that slow. Chapter 1186, Chapter 402, Mighty Army and Rest, the liveliness of South City, Zhejiang's affair, defenses gradually lowered. There are quite a few people entering Hongmen City tonight. The Dragon Martial Army accelerated their march, and when they were still 2 kilometers from the city gates, the Bluestone Road was already dotted with sparse crowds. Seeing the golden-armored torrent rushing forward, these passers-by quickly moved to the sides of the Bluestone Road, turning their heads to watch the massive army, their eyes filled with shock and awe. Hiss, another golden-armored army, all of cold resistance level cultivation. They're all wearing the 1,000-forged Thunder QE golden armor. This should be the Dragon Martial Army of Great Xia. Do you need to say it? Look at the military flag at the front of the army, it says it right there. Dark banner, Xia character on the front, golden broadsword pattern on the back. It indeed is the Dragon Martial Army flag. The guards at the city gate are soldiers of the Cloud Dragon Army. I see their strength is basically not below 6 tufts. Cloud Jia Long Wu, these should be Great Xia's 2 most elite armies. Their strength is all above 6 tufts this. Even the northern 3 towns can't produce such a strong army, can they? The marching speed of the Dragon Martial Army was very fast. Amidst the discussions of the passers-by, Hu Quan had already led the vanguard reconnaissance camp to the city gate. Salute to Commander Hu. On duty at the city gate tonight was Zhu Xing, the colonel of the Cloud Dragon Army's reconnaissance camp. He first cupped his hands in salute to Hu Quan, then turned and shouted to the queue registering to enter the city. Please move aside, everyone. Make way for the army to enter the city. There were about 400 to 500 people registering to enter the city. Upon hearing his voice, they immediately moved to the flanks, clearing space for the army behind them. 10 camp captains, 50 team leaders all come to the front. Count your respective soldiers and once confirmed, enter the city together. At Hu Quan's command, 60 people quickly ran out from the ranks and stood below the city gate. Reconnaissance Camp Colonel Zhu Yang first confirmed his 5 squad leaders, who then each counted their 19 team members in turn. They quickly completed the entire entry procedure and began to enter the city orderly. Seeing that even the soldiers of the Dragon Martial Army could not enter the city casually, the eyes of those queuing up gleamed with surprise. So even the Dragon Martial Army's entry procedures are so complicated. It's said that the rules of Hongmen City are stringent, truly living up to its reputation. There are many filthy things in the ice abyss. Great Xia is just thinking of safety's sake. I find this reassuring. Aren't you focusing on the wrong thing? What you should really focus on is the military discipline and bearing of Great Xia. These are over 1,000 cold resistance level soldiers above 6 toughs. Which of the other 8 towns can train their army to such a degree? Indeed, I've seen the defensive army of the 8 towns, and their cold resistance level ones are all arrogant, completely incomparable to this dragon martial army. Look at them. Even when entering the city they maintain their formation. With such military discipline, it's no wonder they could achieve more with less at Yumen and Fushan, repeatedly defeating the defensive armies of Jinshan and Wuchuan towns. Exactly right. The continuous exclamations around undoubtedly brought immense satisfaction to all the soldiers of the Dragon Martial Army. Their faces showed traces of pride, and their marching steps into the city became deliberately more synchronized and pronounced. Xia Hong was also among them, and he was one of the first batch to enter the city with the reconnaissance camp. After entering the city, he did not leave the team but continued to follow the reconnaissance camp along the main road, heading towards the North City camp. As the foreign trade port of Great Xia, Hongmen City naturally harbors a mix of fish and dragons. For ease of management, Xia Chuan divided the city into north and south sections, with the ministry building at the center. The North City is the territory of Great Xia, while the South City is reserved for receiving outsiders. Storage warehouses, military camps, the 8 government departments, including the living areas of Great Xia's people, are basically concentrated on the North City side. It seems what I saw on the road was only a part. I'm afraid all the cold resistance level from the 8 towns have come to Hongmen City these days. Since entering the city, Xia Hong observed the passers-by along the way. Just from the dense crowd on the main road, he could deduce that the current population in the city must be astonishingly large. When I went to Yin village at the end of July, I passed through Hongmen once. At that time, there were at most 5,000 to 6,000 people in the city. Now it's probably tripled or quadrupled. While guessing in his heart, Xia Hong soon followed the army to the North City camp, adjacent to the ministry building. All military camps in Great Xia are designed with squads as units. A squad of 20 people lives in one camp. Zhang Qingyuan quickly led his squad of 20 to the prearranged camp. As soon as the crowd pushed open the camp door, they were greeted by the aroma of hot food. Seeing the table in the camp hall filled with fragrant meals, everyone's expression immediately became much more relaxed after 2 days of consecutive marching. But their relaxation wasn't just because of this. All right, the camp meals are already prepared. Remove your armor before eating. After eating, rest if you want or go out if you want, but activities are limited to within Hongmen City. At nightfall tomorrow, there will be a roll call at the camp on time. Those who do not show up will receive 50 lashes, so manage your time well. Hearing Captain Zhang Qingyuan's words, everyone in the squad, including Xia Hong, was momentarily stunned, then erupted into waves of joy. We have a break. Aren't we supposed to escort supplies back to Xia City? Over 4 hours. Is Commander being so generous this time? Their reaction did not surprise Zhang Qingyuan. Military regulations of Great Xia are extremely strict. During non-rest periods, soldiers cannot leave the camp casually. This rule applies even in the Xia City military camp. Without orders from a superior, any soldier who arbitrarily leaves the camp will face severe penalties if caught, ranging from 10 to 50 lashes for minor instances and expulsion from the army for more severe cases. There are precedents for all of this. Chapter 1187, Chapter 402, Strengthening the Army in Time Off, South City's Liveliness, Zhaijiang's Affair, Defenses Slowly Lowered, Part 2. Soldiers in the army can take turns on leave, each having 2 opportunities a year, each lasting 5 days, with at least a 6-month gap in between. Due to the staggering, only 2 or 3 people can go at a time, making it hard to arrange. Besides taking turns, there's another situation for a regular leave. For regular leave, an order must be personally issued by the commander, then conveyed by each camp's colonel, and finally notified step by step to all soldiers. That's why as soon as he spoke, everyone knew it was an order from Commander Hu Quan. Regular leave is more frequent than rotating leave. After a major battle or training session, the commander will give some time for soldiers to relax and move freely out of the camp. However frequent as it may be, tonight's situation clearly does not align with post-battle or training scenarios. These past 2 days, they only escorted supplies without really engaging in any combat, which isn't particularly tiring. So when the crowd heard Zhang Qingyuan announce that they had over 4 hours of leave, Their reaction was surprise and delight. Zhang Qingyuan chuckled and said, "What? I give you over 4 hours of leave and you're still questioning it. If you don't want it, I'll report to the colonel and have you on duty at the camp gate. How about that?" "No, no, no, Captain, we want it. Absolutely we do." "Please be generous, Captain. It's hard to come by a leave period. Please don't. Quickly remove your armor and eat. Several taverns have opened in South City. I'd heard about them back in Bashang, and you can use contribution values to get extra drinks. We should definitely have a good drink later." "Oh really? We should quickly remove our armor and eat." "Oh yeah?" Seeing the soldiers' reactions, Zhang Qingyuan laughed heartily and finally turned to look at Xia Hong beside him, smiling. "Xia Hong, although you are not a formal member of the Dragon Martial Army, you must follow the same military rules as everyone else. Understand?" Xia Hong understands. Xia Hong hurriedly cupped his hands, nodded solemnly and agreed. Zhang Qingyuan made it very clear, only giving over 4 hours of leave. Tomorrow night at the roll call, those absent will receive 50 strokes of the cane. Given the cold resistance level skin membrane strength, if it were ordinary 50 military canes, it wouldn't be much. However, the canes used by Great Xia for punishment are made from 5/8 mountain red wood. The more firm the skin membrane, the stronger the adherence of the wood. The harder the user strikes, the harder the cane becomes. Plus, it is always personally executed by the camp colonels, making each stroke genuinely tough to endure. Previously, when in the Bashing City military camp, Xia Hong saw with his own eyes a soldier from the 8th Battalion of the Dragon Martial Army made a mess due to drinking and was punished with 20 strokes, being unable to stand for over an hour afterward. He inquired further, learning that the punished soldier had the strength of a 7-maned. A 7-maned strength with cold resistance level, yet even 20 cane strokes were this severe. With his basic strength only at 3-maned, if he realistically takes 50 strokes, he might not die but would certainly shed a layer of skin. Perhaps it's best not to go out. It's only 4 hours and in case. Xia Hong initially dismissed the idea of going out, but recalling his promise to Chen Yiking and others before entering the city, a hint of hesitation flickered in his eyes. Just stay in the city, mind the time, and there should be no issues. Having made up his mind, Xia Hong returned to his room, removing his armor, changing into regular clothes, and after eating with his fellow soldiers, declined their invitation to the South City Tavern, leaving the camp alone. Once outside the camp, Xia Hong immediately sensed something amiss. He turned and glanced to the left and right, then quickly perceived all the surrounding camps, his expression slightly brightening. With so many people housed in the camps, indeed, the Lord should have gathered all the troops into Hongmen City, and it's probably more than just the troops. Xia Hong quickly spotted 10-meter-long giant iron wheel cars at several camp gates. Each car was tightly covered with black tarpaulins, and after pondering for a moment, Xia Hong immediately guessed what was inside, his pupils slightly narrowing. Surely, something big is going to happen the day after tomorrow. Xia Hong took a slight breath and stopped observing the military camp, heading towards the southern exit. Leaving the camp and bypassing the ministry building, Xia Hong soon entered the South City. Zhanghin Point, 2 coins a pack, come take a look. Sour crystal fruit skewers, 5 coins each, sweet and sour, come and see. High-level beast bone pendants, red jade, green pine jade hairpins. All crafted by renowned Great Xia artisans, come into the shop to see. The more you buy, the cheaper. Cotton and silk fabrics, brocade, satin, all kinds of materials available at this store. Additionally, ready-made summer clothes for men, women, and children in various styles. Don't miss them, come in to see them, free of charge to try on. Oh yeah? Crossing the South City archway, as soon as he stepped into the main street, the clamorous calls and shouts became incessant. Xia Hong looked up, seeing the 15-meter-wide main street lined almost entirely with vendors and shops. The street sides were designed similarly to Xia City, with iron stakes every 5 meters along the street, each holding a coal stove and 5 torches. Together with the ample lighting from the buildings on both sides of the street, the entire South City was lit as bright as day, appearing much more lively than their North City camp. This bustling atmosphere was not new to Xia Hong. Street vendors and merchants had existed in Xia City since June this year. However, truth be told, the bustling feeling on this street seemed even richer than in Xia City. Chapter 1188. Chapter 402. Strong Army and Rest, South City's lively atmosphere, Zhaijiang's romance, walls of the heart gradually lower /3. Is it because the vast majority are from outside towns? The shops on both sides must have been set up by the camp supply department, and many of those vendors are from Great Xia, but there seem to be a few from outside towns as well. Xia Hong has a certain keen eye. Among the very few vendors, even if they are wearing summer clothes, he can quickly discern they are not from Great Xia just by observing them for a while. Does this mean Hongmen City has already allowed people from outside towns to set up stalls for trade here? Although the street stalls seem densely packed, a careful observer would notice that these stalls are spaced every 3 meters along the street, maintaining a 2-meter distance from the shop fronts, with each stall spaced 1 meter apart, thus separating the stalls and leaving a pathway for pedestrians. Furthermore, a yellow line is drawn in front of the stalls on both sides, and all the tables and items for sale are within the yellow line boundaries, with the space between the 2 yellow lines roughly 6 meters apart, clearly intended for pedestrian traffic. Guess who I am? Suddenly, 2 cold little hands cover his eyes, making Xia Hong frown sharply. But upon hearing that extremely familiar, delightful voice, his brow quickly relaxes. He turns swiftly to look behind him, his face full of surprise and delight. Jiang, you really came to Hongmen too. The person covering his eyes is a girl dressed in a bright yellow summer dress, her face charming and delicate, not yet 20 years old, with particularly bright and lively eyes, and if you look closely, you would find that her features bear a 3-point resemblance to Xia Hong. Brother, you didn't expect this, did you? I was transferred to Hongmen City back in August. Jai Jiang spoke crisply, directly linking her arm around Xia Hong's, her face full of a playful smile, but then she thought of something, blinked her eyes and continued, Brother, did you miss me? Of course I did. Upon hearing this question, Xia Hong answered without hesitation. Since their parents died in the disaster brought by the wood puppet monster 10 years ago, the two of them have always relied on each other. The bond between brother and sister goes without saying. Upon hearing the answer, Jai Jiang's face immediately showed a satisfied smile, but her eyes turned, and with a mischievous look continued to ask, Besides missing me, did you miss anyone else? Jai Hong's expression froze. He immediately leaned to look behind Jai Jiang. Jai Jiang exaggeratedly moved her body to block Jai Hong's view, clearly hiding someone behind her. Brother, don't cheat. You must answer the question first. Come on, did you miss anyone else? You're cheating. Jai Jiang couldn't win in the end, and Jai Hong directly pulled her away. It turned out that not far behind her stood another woman in her early 20s, with fair skin and a gentle face dressed in a blue dress. The blue-clad woman's face was blushing deeply at Jai Jiang's teasing, coincidentally meeting Jai Hong's gaze, and the blush spread to her ears. Xiao Ru, you came too. Brother Jai, you forgot. I was transferred to the treasure tower back in July. Jai Hong blushed deeply, remembering that Zheng Ru had mentioned it deliberately when she was transferred to the treasure tower in July. Brother, Sister Xiao Ru is really impressive. She was just promoted to intermediate officer at the treasure tower and now has 3 subordinates. Jiang, don't talk nonsense. Compared to the lively and playful Jai Jiang, Zheng Ru is gentle as her name suggests, her temperament soft as water, her voice in rebuke is very soft, lacking any real impact. However, Jai Jiang respected her very much, and upon hearing her speak, she immediately shut her mouth, then pulled her brother Jai Hong with a mischievous smile and headed towards a nearby summer clothing store. Brother, I am the shopkeeper of this summer clothes store now, so you must come by often and support my business. As they reached the entrance, Jai Hong looked curious as he heard Jai Jiang say she was the shopkeeper of this store, and then lifted his eyes to the dazzling array of summer clothes inside, with many customers browsing, his face filled with amazement. Aren't all the shops along the streets opened by the camp supply department? How did you become the shopkeeper? Seeing the astonishment on her brother's face, Jai Jiang gave a proud smile, knowing that Jai Hong had always stayed at the Heyin station and wasn't aware of the situation in Hongmen City, immediately patiently explaining it to him. Since Hongmen City opened its port in July, people have been pouring in from the 8 towns continuously. Initially, it was the cold resistance level from village-level camps who came, relying on the treasure tower to just manage. But over time, the cold resistance level from the towns, including the earth-digging realm limit and earth-digging realm from the 8 towns, brought various items seeking to trade with Great Xia. Soon the treasure tower reached its capacity limit. Indeed, although the 8 towns covers a large area, even the northern 3 towns, The village-level camps within them average only 60 to 70 units, with 20 cold resistance level members per village. The 8 towns collectively have at most 8 to 9,000 people. As long as they don't come simultaneously, the treasure tower can manage the reception completely. Counting the town cold resistance level and adding all the earth-digging realms, the number becomes a completely different concept. Just taking Great Xia as an example, now the number of earth-digging realms has reached nearly 300,000, even though Great Xia doesn't have comparable statistics. Based on this number, you can deduce that a single town in the 8 towns has at least 150,000 earth-digging realms alone. Chapter 1189. Chapter 402. Strengthening the Army in Days of Rest, South City's Bustling Life, Zhejiang's Affairs, Guarded Heart Unraveling Part 4. With such a large influx of people, relying solely on the treasure tower is definitely not viable. The transaction sizes vary, and we can't have people buying items worth just a few taels of silver come into the treasure tower and send special staff to assist them, can we? To alleviate the pressure on the treasure tower, and to better engage in trade with the people from the 8 towns, Qiu Peng enacted a series of changes in August. Firstly, items such as clothing, fabrics, ordinary materials, food, basic tools and weapons below the 1,000 forged level, which aren't as important and involve retail, were moved out of the treasure tower to be managed by shopkeepers along the street. The right to operate these shops requires a large amount of contribution value and fierce bidding, along with others from the camp. Secondly, focusing on large transactions and ignoring smaller ones, clarifying that any single transaction below 10,000 taels of silver doesn't need to enter the tower. To facilitate this rule, the treasure tower now has a capital verification rule in place at the entrance. Lastly, hundreds of stalls were set up along the street, open not only to the internal members of Great Xia, but also externally, allowing anyone to rent them for a daily fee. After hearing Qiu Peng's 3 measures, Xia Hong was instantly shocked. He turned to look at the shop his sister owned, estimating the area at about 30 square meters, and curiously asked, "The right to operate this shop must be expensive, right? I remember you've accumulated just over 50,000 contribution points over the years. Can you compete with others?" Although his sister had a better cultivation talent than himself, Xia Hong wasn't willing to let her go out to fight cold beasts, so he forced her into the camp's supply department early on, allowing her to work in Xia City. Most of Zhejiang's cultivation resources were provided by him, so he clearly knew how many contribution points his sister had. The business opportunities in South City shops are huge. It's obvious you can't get the operating rights with just 50,000 contribution points. He didn't believe it no matter what. Upon hearing his question, Zhejiang's face showed a proud smile. She held Zheng Ru beside her and said sweetly, "I have Sister Xiao Ru, a wealthy person supporting me, so why worry about money?" Xia Hong's face instantly darkened upon hearing this. Seeing the expression on her brother's face, Zhejiang knew what he was thinking and quickly explained, "Brother, don't misunderstand. I didn't borrow money from Sister Xiao Ru. Opening this summer clothes shop was originally her idea. We spent 200,000 contribution points for the operating rights. I put in 50,000, and Sister Xiao Ru provided the remaining 150,000. Strictly speaking, Zheng Ru is the shopkeeper of this summer clothes shop." Xia Hong was stunned, turning to Zheng Ru with a surprised expression. 150,000 contribution points is no small amount. It's not about looking down on women, but rather, at this point, the inside-outside division is fully established in Great Xia. If there is a man in the family, it's rare for women to go outside to fight cold beasts for contribution points. Like their siblings, Zhejiang has cold resistance level cultivation, but her experience fighting cold beasts is less than 5 times, always with him watching nearby. From what he knows, Zheng Ru's background is good. Her father, Zheng Fan, was previously the leader of a small camp at 5-8 Mountain, joining Great Xia with 300 people in its first year, and is now a colonel in the Dragon Slayer army. The Zheng family has a considerable population, making it unlikely for her to earn contribution points on her own. Could she have gotten it from her family? Thinking of Zheng Ru's background, a suspicion arose on Xia Hong's face. "Brother Jai, don't misunderstand. The contribution points I saved in previous years were actually less than Ajiang, only under 40,000. It's mainly because during the 2+ months of work at Treasure Tower, I've earned quite a lot. The August reform message from Director Q was first announced at Treasure Tower, and I learned of it early. Knowing Jiang and I both had a strong interest in summer clothes, we pooled resources to open the shop together. I must continue working at Treasure Tower, so Jiang is managing the shop. Xia Hong showed evident skepticism upon hearing this. Jiang truly understands her brother's personality. Seeing his expression, she immediately guessed that he didn't believe yet. She couldn't help but say, "Brother, don't underestimate Sister Zio Ru. Over the past few months, her earnings at Treasure Tower may not necessarily be less than your hunting earnings." Xia Hong didn't believe it even more now. Although he just broke through to the cold resistance level, he had saved up strength to impact the top-grade battle body, and his basic strength was on par with the average cold resistance level before breakthrough. He was always part of the advanced hunting team. According to Great Xia's current market, members of the advanced hunting team earn at least 15,000 contribution points a month, meeting just the minimum targets. Being slightly diligent can surpass 20,000. As for him, in the past 2 months at He Yin Station, encountering new cold beasts and materials, he earned at least 50,000 a month. Zheng Ru earning more, how could that be possible? Sister Zio Ru earned over 70,000 contribution points in August. Did you earn more? While Xia Hong was calculating, upon hearing his sister's words, he was stunned. Turning to see Zheng Ru not denying it, his expression immediately stiffened. She truly earned more than him. Is the treasure tower really this profitable? Seeing her brother's astonishment, Jiang was immediately pleased, continuing with a smile. This summer clothes shop opened on the 20th last month, so it's been less than a month, with net profits of 9,000 taels of silver. After deducting the 3% business tax owed to the camp supply department, net profits are over 6,000 taels, translated into contribution points. It exceeds 60,000, isn't it less than yours? Chapter 1190. Chapter 402. Building a strong army in short breaks, everyday life in South City, Jiang's romance, lowered defenses, Part 5. Upon hearing about the 30% business tax, Xia Hong immediately nodded. He had been puzzled just moments ago. Such large profits were apparent to him, and surely the camp supply department couldn't miss it either. Even if, for simplicity, they handed the business dealings to others, it couldn't be just a single operating permit fee. After all, one glance at the goods in these shops and it's clear they come from the craftsman department, suggesting these shop operators are merely middlemen. If a monthly profit tax needs to be extracted, it would make sense. Brother, since we've talked about me, let's talk about you. You mentioned before that once you break through the cold resistance level, you'd consider marriage. Now that your top-grade battle body has finally become reality, don't forget about Sister Zio Ru. His sister suddenly switched the topic, teasing him. Xia Hong instinctively looked up at Zheng Ru, and a hint of emotion flashed through his heart. Jiang, if you keep up this nonsense, I'm leaving. Zheng Ru, already shy by nature, was particularly embarrassed in front of her beloved. With Jiang airing their private matters so openly, she immediately felt ashamed and couldn't help but voice her annoyance at Jiang. Xia Hong's face, too, couldn't help but flush. To maintain his dignity as an elder brother, he retaliated against his sister, saying, Stop talking about me. What about you and Brother Su? Upon hearing the 3 words, Brother Su, Jiang's face instantly turned gloomy. Seeing his sister's expression, Xia Hong's smile immediately disappeared. What's going on? Did Suen bully you? Suen is the current director of Huayuan Civil Affairs Bureau. Xia Hong calling him directly by name was indeed inappropriate, but he clearly felt his sister was being wronged and didn't think much of it. Like him, Suen was an elder from the Mud Slope era. In earlier years, both his sister and him got along well with Suen, but because Suen was 2 years older and broke through the cold resistance level earlier, plus had elder brother Su Ning's support, their positions grew further apart. Considering Suen's increasingly high rank and busyness, Xia Hong gradually reduced his interactions with Suen, partly to avoid suspicion and partly due to a man's pride. But his sister Jiang was different. Xia Hong knew his sister had liked Suen since childhood. Suen also had affection for her, so, although he reduced his interactions with Suen, he restricted nothing when it came to his sister. Given Suen's current status, if his sister could marry him, it would be great. Hence, Xia Hong not only didn't restrict but even encouraged it. But now, his sister's reaction clearly indicated a problem in their relationship. What happened? Brother, I don't want to talk about it. If you don't tell me, I'll go to Huayuan in a few days to ask Suen. Brother, don't force me, I really don't want to say. With her brother's insistence, Whether out of grievance or something else, Jai Jiang directly broke into tears. Since they had already moved to the shop's inner room, there was no need to worry about outsiders. You? Jai Hong's face flushed with fury, but seeing his sister crying so sadly, he couldn't continue to force her to speak. After hesitating briefly, Zheng Ru couldn't help but speak. Brother Jai, you know Zhao Yunxiu. At the mention of Zhao Yunxiu, Jai Hong instantly realized the implication. His expression darkened before he signaled Zheng Ru to continue. Her father, Lord Zhao Bao, serves in the Huayuan Camp Supply and Military Equipment Department alongside Su Wen. She often takes advantage of this to pester Su Wen and subtly obstruct Ah Jiang from approaching him. Last month, Zhao Yunxiu urged her father and two uncles to visit Bashing to propose marriage to Vice Director Su. Thank you. Upon hearing this, Jai Hong's heart thumped heavily and he promptly asked, "Has Vice Director Su agreed?" Zheng Ru nodded, and instantly Jai Hong clenched his fists, understanding why his sister's demeanor was so downcast. The Su brothers, Su Ning and Su En, had situations quite similar to his and Jai Jiang's. Su En's marriage decisions naturally had to go through elder brother Su Ning's approval. The elite families within Xia City had become numerous, and among them the Zhao family stood out significantly. The main Zhao family brothers, Zhao Long, Zhao Hu, and Zhao Bao, had long supported Lord Xia Hong, earning distinguished achievements. Now all three were granted noble titles and each commanded an army. By family influence, there was no match in all of Xia City. Furthermore, the Zhao family's members were many, with children of the three brothers and the next generation of Yuan, descendants totaling easily over 30 or 40. Disregarding Su En's thoughts for now, compared to Zhao Yunxiu backed by the mighty Zhao family, sister Jai Jiang only has him as a useless brother. Any practical-minded person knows what choice to make. Though Su Ning's agreement to the Zhao family's proposal was expected, Jai Hong, with clenched fists, stubbornly asked, "And Su En? Did he obediently comply? Was all those years of feelings for Jai Jiang just pretended?" "Brother, I beg you not to say any more. Being arranged by the elder brother, Su must be torn inside. I don't want to force him. Regardless of his final choice, I accept it. I'm not going, and neither should you find him, okay?" "No way, I'll not go." Jai Hong abruptly stood up, ready to shout in anger, but seeing his sister teary-eyed, he ultimately softened his stance, slightly nodding as he planned to calm her first. Chapter 1191. Chapter 402. Strong Army and Leisure. South City's vibrant life, Jai Jiang's romance, guarded hearts unraveling. However, he hadn't had a chance to speak when a middle-aged voice from outside the shop interrupted him. "Is the shopkeeper here? I want to try on this clothing." The shop actually had staff, but it seemed there were too many people at the moment, so the person had called out. Jai Jiang quickly wiped the tears from her face, hurried outside to greet the customer. "Brother Jai, the boat naturally straightens when it reaches the bridge. Lord Su's brother is a trusted aide of the Lord and holds a high position in the camp. The Su family itself is influential. Su En may not agree, so don't rush." Hearing Zheng Ru's advice, Jai Hong sighed slightly and ultimately just nodded, following him outside. Once they stepped out, Jai Hong's expression froze upon seeing the four who just walked into the shop. "Oh, Jai, little friend. Senior Chen, this is quite a coincidence indeed." A total of 4 people entered the shop, and leading them was Chen Yiking, whom he had met outside the city earlier. Behind him were the 2 men and 1 woman, 3 young individuals with earth-digging realm cultivation, whereas the 4 middle-aged men from earlier were not present. "I was just worried about where to find Jai, little friend, and by chance saw this summer clothes store with nice clothing, so I decided to bring people in for a look. Coincidentally, we meet again. It seems Chen truly has fate with Jai, little friend." Chen Yiking remarked, then turned to Jai Jiang with a smile. "I noticed this young lady bears some resemblance to Jai, little friend. Could she be Jai, little friend's sister?" Since he was her brother's friend, Jai Jiang naturally couldn't be rude and quickly cupped her hands with a smile. "Jai Jiang greets Senior Chen." After confirming Jai Jiang's identity, Chen Yiking's expression brightened slightly. He then remembered something and continued with a handshake. "If Jai, little friend, doesn't mind, how about joining me for a few drinks at the nearby restaurant? I'll host. I have some questions for you." Hearing this, Jai Hong hesitated for a moment, but seeing it was still dark outside, he finally nodded and accepted the invitation. "Jai Jiang, you are also welcome to join if you wish." "Thank you, Senior Chen, but I'll pass. Brother, don't drink too much." Jai Jiang politely declined the invitation, reminded Xia Hong, and then continued to busy herself with shop matters. Xia Hong followed Chen Yiking and the others, and soon arrived at the adjacent restaurant. Zhao's Restaurant, what a domineering name. Before entering, upon hearing Chen Yiking's remark, Xia Hong immediately looked up at the restaurant's signboard, seeing Zhao's Restaurant. His expression instantly showed a hint of gloom. But he said nothing, and continued to follow Chen Yiking inside. Would the five of you prefer a private room or the main hall? What are the charges? Private room 30 taels, main hall is free. Upon hearing the price, Chen Yiking immediately clicked his tongue, but still bit the bullet and said, "We'll take a private room then." The attendant saw the five opting for a private room, immediately smiled, and respectfully led them upstairs. From ordering the private room to the attendant bringing the menu, seeing the prices of dishes on the menu, Chen Yiking occasionally showed surprise, but ultimately gritted his teeth and ordered 5 dishes each priced over 20 taels, accompanied by a bottle of 1,300 taels lower quality Phoenix Yang drunk. Upon hearing Chen Yiking ordering Phoenix Yang drunk, Xia Hong immediately objected, "Senior Chen, there's no need to spend so extravagantly." Chen Yiking gestured dismissively, first handed a 10-forged silver ingot to the attendant, indicating to serve the dishes, then turned to Xia Hong and said loudly, "Since I'm hosting, I shouldn't be miserly. Chen's financial resources are limited and I have to save some silver for shopping, so I can only afford lower quality Phoenix Yang drunk. I hope Jai little friend doesn't find it lacking." Upon hearing these words, Xia Hong felt a sense of appreciation but also some caution. After a moment of silence, he said, "Pardon Jai for being cautious first, but if Senior Chen is looking to extract any secrets, then he's found the wrong person. Jai is merely a nobody in Great Xia. Even the owner of this restaurant is far above me in status." Chen Yiking immediately interrupted. "Jai little friend is overthinking. Chen merely admires Great Xia's prosperity and desires to visit. Jai little friend, young as you are, part of the Dragon Martial Army, there is no need to belittle yourself. If you're considered a nobody, then how should Chen regard himself?" Being young, Xia Hong couldn't help but feel a bit flattered hearing this, but remembering his sister's situation, he didn't respond. Chen Yiking was in no hurry, waited till the drinks were served. After a few rounds, his eyes showing slight intoxication, he remarked, "I'll be honest, Jai little friend, Chen has lived over 50 years, but I've never seen a camp as prosperous as Great Xia. Everyone lives in peace and joy, and there seems to be no social hierarchy here. Compared to our village-level camps and even the 8 towns, life here is akin to paradise." After downing his drink, Xia Hong's eyes also showed slight intoxication, his face revealing pride. "Of course, our Great Xia Lord Xia Hong, unmatched strength among the 8 towns, renowned as the Mo's foremost figure. When the next days arrive, our Great Xia will utterly establish itself as Mo's top town. What's worth for the 8 towns before Great Xia?" At this point, Xia Hong's expression suddenly darkened, continuing in a solemn tone, "To speak of the absence of social hierarchy in the camp is not entirely accurate. Take this restaurant's owner, the Zhao family, their status is far above mine, not just by a little." Hearing this, Chen Yiking's face showed a hint of surprise, curiously asked, "Zhao family, so Great Xia also has family standings. Does this mean there is some inequality within Great Xia?" HMPH. Xia Hong suddenly snorted coldly, not completely oblivious. He first gazed at Chen Yiking, ran through what he wished to say to ensure no significant intel was revealed, then, with a pained expression, slowly spoke, "Of course there is inequality, my sister Jai Jiang." While Xia Hong and Chen Yiking were drinking in the restaurant, the sky outside gradually brightened. As the sky brightened, street pedestrian numbers immediately reduced by 70 to 80%. Yet despite this, many shopkeepers continued operating, and the main street in South City wasn't completely deserted. At least 5,000 to 6,000 people remained. Meanwhile, the top floor of the Hongmen City Ministry building welcomed 2 extraordinarily special guests. Minister Xia Chuan, long time no see. Sitting in the main seat, Xia Chuan smiled immediately upon seeing the 2 entering from outside the hall. "Please come in." Chapter 1192, Chapter 403, Small Gathering and the Strength of Great Xia, Arrival of the 6 Towns. The 8th year of Great Xia, September 17th, late night. Hongmen City, Ministry Building. A young man dressed in crimson attire with a silver knife at his waist slowly walked towards the main gate. He looked to be in his early 30s, standing over 2 meters tall, his physique much more robust than the average person. His steady steps matched his composed demeanor. Even though he carried a faint smile on his face, an imposing aura radiated from him, offering an inexplicable sense of pressure. His crimson attire had an embroidered, lifelike golden demon sheep, with its 6 sharp horns extending from the right shoulder forward. The aggressive stance of the demon sheep added a touch of nobility to the young man's demeanor. "Greetings, Lord Yue." Dozens of golden-armored soldiers stationed at the main door of the government office saw the young man approaching and immediately put on a solemn expression, bowing to him in respect. "No need for formalities, may I go straight in?" Yue Feng noticed that most people entering or exiting the main building were being questioned and checked by the guard soldiers. Smiling, he asked casually. A leading captain quickly stepped forward with a smile, bowing and explaining, "My lord is joking. Recently, spies from other towns have attempted to sneak into the ministry building to gather intelligence. These spies aren't very skilled, but their methods of deception are increasingly clever. To prevent disturbance to the minister and all dignitaries, our Cloud Dragon army has set up this checkpoint for inspections." All the duties at the door were performed by Cloud Dragon army soldiers. Recognizing Yue Feng upon approach, the explanation given by the captain made his expression slightly somber. "Make sure you do a thorough inspection, not allowing any lesser evils to infiltrate. Rest assured, my lord. Nowadays, any unfamiliar faces, whether they are from the Great Xia camp or not, will undergo careful inspection with no exceptions." Upon hearing this, Yue Feng nodded, trusting the discipline of the Great Xia army as both a Longshan guardian and a commander of the army. "By the way, my lord, are you here for the banquet today? I just noticed Directors Q and Yuan brought several large jars of fine wine upstairs." At the soldier's words, Yue Feng's face instantly lit up with a smile. After some thought, he took out an azure wine jug from his bosom and tossed it to the captain. "Since they've already brought some, I'll leave mine. This Qingyang wine is for you." The captain, under the envious gaze of the other soldiers, caught the jug with a smile on his face and chuckled. "Thank you, Lord Yue, for the gift of wine." Yue Feng waved his hand in a gesture, walking directly inside. "Qingyang is mid-grade wine. Just one bottle is 25,000 contribution value. This one must weigh at least half a kilo. To casually take it out, Lord Yue must have an astounding fortune." "Nonsense. You do know how formidable the Longshan post is, don't you? Lord Yue has been presiding over Longshan for 6 years. His wealth can't be small." "That's right, I almost forgot. I heard Longshan's economic value ranks first continuously, practically the top station of Great Xia, making Lord Yue as the Longshan guardian undoubtedly wealthy. Being guardian isn't much anymore. I've heard that over these 6 years presiding over Longshan, Lord Yue's accomplishments are remarkable. The minister is planning to promote him." "Promoting above guardian would mean director, likely a deputy director." "Captain, don't keep the Qingyang to yourself. Share a bit with us when we change shifts." "Off you go. Rarely does one acquire a free bottle. If you want some, switch with me." "How stingy." "Hahaha." These soldiers' banter at the door went unbeknownst to Yue Feng, who, upon entering, proceeded directly upwards along the stairs. The main building of the government offices at all Great Xia posts shared similar designs, consisting of 5 levels, the top for post discussions, and the lower 4 divided into 8 sections for the 8 ministries to manage affairs. Yue Feng, familiar with the arrangement, ascended to the top floor, walked to a side chamber, and pushed the door open to see 5 young men of similar age seated around a round table, a smile blooming on his lips. "Why did it take so long to change clothes?" "Come quickly, we've been waiting for you. The 6 of us haven't been together for such a long time. It's rare to gather here in Hongmen. Let's not waste time, hurry up." Seated around the table were Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Su Ning, Lu Yang, and Lin Kai. "Hahaha, sorry for the wait." At their urging, Yue Feng hurriedly laughed, took his seat, and glanced around at his 5 friends with his smile carrying a hint of nostalgia. Since the new policy at Long Mountain in the 2nd year of Great Xia, it's been indeed a long time since all of us could gather like this, especially after the incident with Su Ning last year. I feared we'd never have such a chance to drink together again. At Yue Feng's sentiment, the 6 exchanged looks among themselves, all showing some signs of emotion. The 6 of them had been following Lord Xia Hong since the Mudslope days 10 years ago, certainly among Great Xia's founding figures today. Yet delving deeper, the oldest Yue Feng was only 31, with the youngest Lin Kai merely 28, making them all relatively young. at least compared to other high-ranking individuals from the 8 towns, with ages frequently reaching 60, 70, or even 80 and 90. The 6 were considered young. Despite their youth, the experiences of these past 10 short years were no less than anyone else's, especially following Lord Xia Hong from the precarious mud-slope days as Great Xia grew to today's over 20,000 square kilometer territory, overpowering the 8 towns of Mo South Slope. A single Hongmen opening could attract cold resistance from 8 towns like bees to honey. Chapter 1193, Chapter 403, A small gathering and the strength of Great Xia, 6 strongholds arrived together. The 6 of them were not only witnesses, but also heavily involved in all these changes. The more they experienced, the stronger their emotional bonds became. This is no empty saying. By now, the 6 of them were no longer the clueless youths from the mud slope, who only waited for the Lord to bring back beast meat. Hu Peng is now the director of the camp supply department, overseeing the Great Xia treasury. The finances he handles yearly are countless, and the basic cultivation resources like the beast meat he once longed for, he barely has time to even glance at the accounts monthly now. Any decision he makes could directly affect the lives of more than 1 million people within the Great Xia territory, making his power the greatest among the 6. Yuan Cheng is now the director of the garrison department, responsible for all districts within Xia City and all external posts outside Xia City. Both safety and personnel appointments are under his control, which, strictly speaking, makes Su Ning and Yue Feng his subordinates. Su Ning is not only the deputy director of the garrison department, but also serves as the guardian of Bashing. Unlike other posts in Great Xia, Bashing is a major city at the town level, so nearby Yin and the 16 newly established posts around Jiuchu Camp are all managed by Bashing. The importance of the guardian of Bashing far exceeds that of any other post. Yue Feng is now the guardian of Longshan, overseeing nearly half of the Longyu posts and managing the vast resource area of Longshan, needless to say about his status. Lin Kai is now the guardian of Hongmen City. Hongmen has only been open for trade for over 2 months, with many transaction details still being explored, so currently, Xia Chuan is personally stationed here. However, as the transaction details and regulations within the city are fully established, the responsibilities will ultimately be handed over to Lin Kai. As for Liu Yang, stationed at the East Ridge, which is crucial for Great Xia's second route to the east, its strategic importance needs no further explanation. The significance of his position as guardian is in no way inferior to that of Yue Feng, Lin Kai, or Su Ning. Though the present is vastly different from the past, no matter how their positions rise, one thing that hasn't changed is the deep bond among the 6 of them. Their friendship transcends simple terms like friends, reaching levels where even words like close friends, brothers, or brethren seem inadequate. The last major reform of the camp traces back to the Longshan new policy in the 2nd year of Great Xia. After Yue Feng took office as the guardian of Longshan, Great Xia began its rapid development. Each of the 6 held significant positions, and thus there hadn't been such a complete reunion until now. Taking advantage of the situation in Hongmen, the 6 of them finally gathered together, and naturally, they sought to drink heartily in celebration. Amidst the clinking of glasses, they opened their hearts and reminisced about the past, from the hardships of 10 years ago to last year's happenings at Daju Temple, and now to the current situation in the 9 towns of Mo South Slope, discussing almost everything possible. Correspondingly, the number of empty wine jugs on the table increased at a visible speed, from 6 to 12, then to 18, before they consciously slowed their conversation and controlled their drinking pace. Su Ning, your luck is truly something else. When we heard about your trouble last year, we were quite worried. Who would have thought you actually? Lin Kai suddenly recalled something, pointing at Su Ning, his face full of envy. Qiu Peng couldn't help but chime in, pointing at Su Ning as he spoke to the others. Looking back now, this guy basically rested for over half a year, and after a nap his battle body talent went from top grade to top grade. Can you believe it? Hadayahata. Seeing the envious faces of Lin Kai, Qiu Peng, and Yue Feng, Su Ning couldn't resist a proud laugh, but then he expressed his gratitude. In the end, it's thanks to the Lord. The heart of Master Wusheng helped me immensely. When the Lord awakened me in late April, my basic strength skyrocketed to 27 mained, and now, in just over 4 months, I've reached 36 mained. 36 mained. Hearing the strength reported by Su Ning, everyone's expressions couldn't help but show a noticeable shock. Qiu Peng couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. improving 9 mained in just over 4 months. What kind of speed is this? That's a bit too exaggerated, right? Not only Qiu Peng but Lin Kai and Yue Feng's faces showed horror as well, clearly unable to fathom Su Ning's astonishing speed of improvement. Yet Yuan Cheng and Lu Yang displayed no surprise at all, as if they had expected it. He, don't just focus on me. Yuan Cheng and Lu Yang received precious treasures from the Lord too. Let them tell you about it. Upon hearing Su Ning's words, the three immediately turned their attention to Yuan Cheng and Lu Yang. Yuan Cheng, without any intentions of hiding, started to explain. I don't know about Su Ning, but since last month, after using the lung of Vajra Master, from skin membrane to flesh to meridians, finally to bones, almost everything renewed itself, and my basic strength instantly surged by 9 mained. Over a month of cultivation later, I increased by more than 2 mained, now reaching 39 mained. My situation is quite similar to Yuan Cheng's. Before using Yan Long Master's Heart in early August, my basic strength was 27 mained, and after replacement it shot up by 9 mained. Over a month of cultivation, I also increased by more than 2 mained, now about 39 mained. With their skin membrane, flesh, meridians and bones all renewed, naturally, the cultivation speed is much faster than before. Qiu Peng and the other two, hearing Yuan Cheng and Lu Yang, even though they understood, still found it somewhat incredible after a moment of thought. Chapter 1194, Chapter 403, A small gathering in Great Xia's strength, 6 garrisons arrived together. A cultivation speed increase of over 2 hairs in just over a month is quite unbelievable. You two only started using the Master's organ in August. The effect of this organ will gradually decrease over time. The cultivation speed is indeed fast in the first month, but it'll slowly stabilize later. I'm already in my 5th month now, and I expect to increase by at most half a hair this month. Upon hearing Su Ning's words, the expressions of Qiu Peng and the other two finally relaxed a bit. Among the three, Qiu Peng was the strongest with a power of 31 hairs, followed by Yue Feng with 30 hairs, and Lin Kai was relatively the weakest with only 29 hairs. It's not that they don't want Yuan Cheng and the others to strengthen, but if the three of them keep increasing at this rapid pace, they would fall behind in a few years. We also face limits with Dan medicine enhancements, and the current gap is almost 10 hairs wide. The gap between us will probably grow bigger in the future. Upon Yue Feng's lament, Yuan Cheng quickly raised his hand to comfort him. Given the Lord's current strength, treasures similar to the Master's organ will certainly appear again in the future. Next time, it'll be your turn. Lu Yang and I were just lucky enough to have enough contribution value, otherwise, who knows who would have got to use the organ. Upon hearing this, Qiu Peng got a bit irritated, took a swig of liquor, and glared fiercely at Lu Yang and Yuan Cheng. I really suffered a big loss this time. I was short by just 350,000 contribution value, and you two snatched it first. Hahaha. Yuan Cheng knew about this. Xia Hong had set the price for Yan Long and Vajra Master's 2 organs at 10 million each. Except for Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao, he and Lu Yang were the only ones who could afford it in the whole camp. Qiu Peng's contribution value was precisely 9.65 million, just 350,000 short, of course. He felt bitter thinking about it now. 10 million contribution value. I saved up for nearly half a year and spent it all at once. If there's another treasure, it definitely won't be my turn next time. After Lu Yang's words fell, Su Ning said wistfully on the side, You guys could scrape together such a large amount, but I still owe the camp supply department over 1 million contribution value, and probably won't clear it until the end of the year. Hadiyohata. Upon Su Ning's words, everyone burst into laughter. When Su Ning was revived at the end of April, he only had over 5 million contribution value, and Xia Hong had priced Master Wusheng's organ at 8 million. Su Ning was still about 3 million short then. For over 4 months, he had been stationed at Basheng, often going out to hunt to repay his debt, a widely told tale in Xia City by now. Those 3 Masters' organs were all precious treasures obtained at the risk of the Lord's life. That he was willing to let us use them is a grace we can never repay. Su Ning suggested that we 6 should toast the Lord together. Though they were joking, as soon as Su Ning said this, the 5 instantly became solemn. Nodding seriously, they stood and raised their glasses above their heads, their faces full of reverence and respect, and said in unison, Eternal Lord, eternal great Xia. All 6 drank their glasses in one go before sitting down again. Qiu Peng, how many people did the Lord actually transfer over this time? When I brought the Dingyang army back from Hankyang on a forced march, I saw that nearly all the posts along the way only had ordinary earth-digging realm cultivators. Could the Lord have transferred all the cold resistance level and earth-digging realm limit people to Hongmen? Liu Yang's Dingyang army had been stationed at Hankyang, and they had received a sudden order to move to Hongmen. Due to the late deployment, he arrived even later than the Falcon Hunting and Xingwu armies from Long Mountain, so he wasn't fully briefed on the situation. Having indulged too much, he excitedly sought clarification from Qiu Peng now that he'd sobered up a bit. Not only Liu Yang but also Yue Feng, who returned one step earlier from Long Mountain, Su Ning, who had come back last night from Bashing, and Yuan Cheng and Lin Kai, who had remained at Hongmen, were obviously unsure of the situation, and they all looked at Qiu Peng with curiosity. Qiu Peng's gaze slightly hardened, directly nodding to confirm Liu Yang's guess, and then said, "Indeed, all the cold resistance level and earth-digging realm limit." The expressions of the five froze instantly, shock written all over their faces. All of them? Did I hear wrong? From Xia City and the 58 posts in Great Xia territory, all the cold resistance level and earth-digging realm limit people were transferred. Seeing the five were still somewhat incredulous, Qiu Peng continued to nod, sneering. To deter, naturally, it must be thorough. Randomly pulling some people wouldn't achieve any deterrent effect. Yuan Cheng suddenly thought of something and asked curiously, "By the way, Qiu Peng, I still don't know, how many cold resistance level and earth-digging realm limit people does our Great Xia have now?" The other four immediately turned to look at Qiu Peng upon hearing the question. For anyone at the logging realm or above in Great Xia, a separate record is kept at the camp's supply department, forming specialized contribution value accounts. Thus, understanding the numbers at every stage within the camp, Qiu Peng, as the director of the camp's supply department, knows best. Cold resistance level, 7,304, earth-digging realm limit, 24,572. When Qiu Peng provided the numbers, the pupils of the five widened in shock. Especially Liu Yang, whose face filled with delight, couldn't help but exclaim excitedly, "In terms of strength alone, our Great Xia is not inferior to any of the northern three towns. Not even Beishuo can match us." Chapter 1195, Chapter 403, Small Gathering and the Power of Great Xia, all 6 towns arrive. Qiu Peng heard this, and a look of curiosity appeared in his eyes. Thinking of the intelligence Liu Yang had sent back before, he couldn't help but ask curiously, "I remember you once said that Beishuo Town has 4 elite troops, all of whom are at the cold resistance level. In terms of numbers, they should be more than ours, right? Is Beishuo's strength not as good as ours?" "They're called the Beishuo Army." After Liu Yang mentioned the designation of the Beishuo elite troops, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he continued, "By the end of last year, the spies I had embedded in Beishuo City had completely figured out the situation of the Beishuo Army." As Liu Yang narrated, only then did Qiu Peng and the others understand why he concluded that even Beishuo could not rival the Great Xia. Because the hidden passage connected to the Hankyang station at East Ridge was extremely important to the Great Xia. In order to ensure the absolute security of this passage, Liu Yang had been extraordinarily careful during his years of infiltration in Beishuo, whether in penetration or espionage, always proceeding in an extremely discreet and slow manner. As a result, not only was the intelligence gathered limited, but the authenticity of the intelligence often had issues. For instance, the total number of cold resistance level troops in Beishuo Town or the specific situation of the Beishuo Army. These are confidential town-level intelligence that is even harder to obtain. Especially in previous years, the strength of their East Ridge people was lacking, and they didn't even dare to enter Beishuo Town. So much of the intelligence relied solely on hearsay, and they even only dared to inquire from non-town members, making it even more difficult to ensure the authenticity of the intelligence. The so-called Beishuo Army in Beishuo Town is actually just one troop. The reason they claim to have 4 is that they temporarily assembled the cold resistance level soldiers from the 15 defensive armies into 3 armies. I had always wondered how Beishuo, with a total cold resistance level of up to 6,000 troops, could form 4 Beishuo armies. It was only after receiving a message from the spy that I understood this was the case. After Liu Yang finished speaking, he continued to smile at Qiu Peng. "I informed Minister at the end of last year, but it seems Minister didn't tell you." Qiu Peng suddenly realized when he heard this, then thought of something. his eyes slightly lighting up as he asked, "Is it the same for the golden armor army of Jinshan Town and the mystic armor army of Wuchuan?" Lu Yang nodded with a smile. "It's about the same. Among the northern three towns, Beishuo is indeed the strongest, and even they are like this. The so-called elite troops of Jinshan and Wuchuan towns are barely one troop at most." Upon hearing this, the brows of Qiu Peng and the other five immediately relaxed. With the chaotic military system of Mo 8 towns, the combat power of individual armies basically can't be compared to our great Xia. If, as Lu Yang said, all three towns only have so much strength, then this deterrence won't be an issue this time. Although they had not yet witnessed the elite units of the northern three towns, from the situation of the defensive army of the 8 towns, they could roughly infer the situation. Last year, every battle between the Jiangxia and Bashing towns and the Daju Temple was personally observed by Xia Hong, and if such a conclusion was reached purely by observation, it might seem a bit hasty. However, considering the actual cases of the wars at Yumen, Fushan, and Peak Mountain, there was no suspense. What I'm curious about now is exactly how many families will come along with the three towns. There should be no suspense for Chewy Mountain, but for Yonk and Dragon Valley towns, it's hard to say. As for Jiangxia and Mayan families, Murong Chui and Zaihu Zhang arrived just at dawn. Before Yuan Cheng could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Qiu Peng. Upon hearing Qiu Peng's words, the five people suddenly smiled. "Then it's basically settled. I just wonder how the Lord will intimidate these scoundrels. Will it be by strength or some other means? Relying on strength alone should be enough, right? The Lord can single-handedly fight against the 5 great masters and kill 3 of them. What are the likes of Yang Zhen to him but ants?" While Qiu Peng and the other 6 were chatting and drinking in the main building, the entire Hongmen city was almost bustling with excitement. The external edict of the Beishuo Lord Yang Zhen had become common knowledge, from the people of the 8 towns to the earth-digging realm at the village-level camps of each town. Everyone knew that a confrontation that would decide the Mo South Slope 9 towns situation for the next few years was about to begin at dawn. At this point in time, naturally, no one could sleep. Especially in the South City, almost every tavern was full, leaving many who couldn't find a seat waiting on the street. Individual feelings are insignificant after all. Although many knew that a lot of cold resistance-level soldiers had come to Hongmen City from various places, without seeing it firsthand, no one was truly aware of exactly how many people had arrived. Until now, there was still half an hour before dawn when all the cold resistance-level people from South City came out to the streets, giving everyone a definite sense. There must be at least 10,000 people, right? Isn't this all the cold resistance levels from all the village camps of the 8 towns? Village camps? Are you kidding? The cold resistance levels of all the village-level camps in the 8 towns combined are at most 8 or 9,000. Could there be so many? Then why are there so many? Because the town people are here too. The town's cold resistance levels are here to watch the commotion too. Today the 9 towns, lords are clashing. Aren't they afraid of their own lord blaming them? In Mo 8 towns, town populations easily reach 7 to 800,000, and each has at least 3 to 4,000 at the cold resistance level. Do you think everyone is that loyal? Are you saying a wise bird chooses a good tree to nest in? What's there to be surprised about? You probably haven't realized how many people have been clambering to join the Great Xia town since Hongmen City opened in July. If the Great Xia hadn't still refused to open its doors, it would have already attracted a large portion of the 8 towns' population. Refused or feared. If the Great Xia publicly recruited people, the other towns aside, surely the northern 3 towns would be the first to object. That's unclear. Whether it's a matter of refusal or fear, we'll see the result today, won't we? Naive. The Great Xia may not publicly take people, but I bet they've secretly recruited a large number, countless spies and nails among the 8 towns. Is that true? Fool, why do you think the northern 3 towns are so eager to suppress the Great Xia? Hongmen's opening is stealing their thunder at the root: ambition, finances, strength, alchemy, casting production. Not a single one of the northern 3 towns can compare with the Great Xia individually. If they don't work together to suppress it, Mo South Slope will eventually be under the sole control of the Great Xia. Then what should we? It's a fight between immortals. It's enough if it doesn't affect us. What do you want to do? Just watch and hope the Great Xia can hold back the 3 towns. If the Great Xia gets suppressed this time, whether Hongmen City can continue will be in question. The discussion among the South City people was intense, and everyone's eyes focused in the direction of the Great Xia Government Office main building, showing a kind of inexplicable anticipation in their eyes. The closer it got to dawn, the quieter the noise in South City became. Until daybreak, when all the earth-digging realms had returned to their rooms, and only the cold resistance levels remained standing outside on the streets of South City, the atmosphere in the entire Hongmen City instantly turned solemn and silent. "They're here." Several beams of bright light suddenly appeared on the northern horizon, and someone among the crowd exclaimed, immediately causing everyone to look towards the north. Chapter 1196, Chapter 404. The 6 towns arrive together, hand over the culprit, divine machine crossbow, sworn oath. Many people tend to interpret words based on their literal meaning. Upon first hearing the term Xianyang, they might think it refers to the point where one's cultivation reaches this realm. They are no longer afraid of cold light and can openly expose themselves under the cold sun. Even before Xia Hong broke through, he thought the same way. But in reality, this is just the most superficial meaning. If a Xianyang level warrior releases just a small amount of energy from their bones, they can quickly dispel cold air and significantly increase the temperature around their body. Corresponding to this characteristic, the true meaning of Xianyang is actually referring to, in the eyes of the vast majority, a strong person at this level is like a blazing and dazzling sun. Any camp, as long as there is a Xianyang level strong person, does not have to adopt any methods to keep warm and does not need to worry about the cold. Therefore, any Xianyang level strong person, in their own camp, even in surrounding camps, is almost a godlike existence. The respect and reverence they receive cannot be matched by those at the cold resistance level, no matter how much they achieve. Thus, if a Xianyang level strong person additionally bears the aura of a lord, their status becomes even more transcendent. At this moment, the reaction of more than 10,000 cold resistance level warriors on the South City streets from the 8 towns is a true reflection of this transcendent status. When 6 towns collectively sent 12 Xianyang level strong persons to appear in the 100 meters high sky above the Hongmen City government building, nearly 90% of these over 10,000 cold resistance level warriors directly bowed their heads. "Greetings, Lord. Greetings, Lord." Over 30% of them showed fanaticism, directly bowed towards the sky. Obviously from the 6 towns, catching sight of their own lord, they emit sporadic salutes. Among the remaining less than 10% of those without reaction, excluding those from the Great Xia, those truly born from the 8 towns are almost negligible. If even cold resistance level warriors are like this, those in the earth-digging realm sheltering within South City houses because of daylight are even more so. Within those houses, even the faint sounds of kneeling can be heard. No one dared to whisper. Even if they originally came here for the spectacle, they all quieted down, focusing their eyes on those 12 people. The entire Hongmen City seemed to fall into silence. Of course, this was near the Ministry building. In slightly farther regions, such as many restaurants in South City, it wasn't so quiet. The leader is Beishuo Lord Yang Zhen, Town Chief Yang Fa. On the left is Jinshan Lord Shangyuan Yang, Army Chief Shangyuan Long. Further left is Chui Mountain Lord Duan Hong, Army Chief Mu Long. On the right is Wuchuan Lord Qin Feng, Army Chief Yi Tianhao. Further right is Dragon Valley Lord Long Minjuan, Army Chief Li Yangshan. At the farthest edge is Yonk Lord Cao Kaiyang, Army Chief Yan Chenju. Didn't they say it's the northern 3 towns? Why did they all come? Not everyone came. Aren't Jiangxia and Mayan 2 towns missing? Foolish, without Great Xia, these 2 towns almost cease to exist. How could they follow the northern 3 towns to suppress Great Xia? So these 2 towns intend to keep to themselves. The people from Great Xia haven't come out yet, not necessarily. 6 towns joining hands, it's understandable for the 2 towns to remain neutral. Mayan is already half dead. Jiangxia also suffered heavily after the battle with Daju Temple. Even if they stood on Great Xia's side, it would be like a drop in the bucket, doing no good. Inside a restaurant in South City, Chen Yiking and his group of 8 sat in an elegant room by the window. They looked at the 12 people in the northern sky, and upon hearing the discussions within the restaurant, a smile appeared on their faces. In my opinion, the northern 3 towns plus Chui Mountain alone should suffice. Dragging Dragon Valley and Yonk 2 towns along Isn't Big Brother overestimating Great Xia? Upon hearing Chen Yimu's words, the remaining 6 immediately nodded, all turning their heads towards Chen Yiking with faces full of confusion. Overestimating? Chen Yiking turned to look at the 6, shook his head, and said in a deep voice, "You entered the city the night before last. You should have roamed quite a bit in South City these 2 days. You've seen some wealth of resources and abundance of goods in Great Xia, right? Trivial skills. Ultimately, the ice abyss will speak through strength. No matter how many resources, diversified goods, or superb skills, without strength as a foundation, it's all empty in the end." Responded to Chen Yiking was his second son Chen Huang. As soon as Chen Huang finished speaking, his elder son Chen Yu immediately nodded and continued, "Second brother is correct. Based on my observations over these 2 days, what Great Xia Town could showcase, it's just the Cloud Jiao and Long Wu armies. I speculate their cold resistance level overall scale, even if larger than the northern 3 towns, would be limited." Unlike the courteous demeanor when exchanging pleasantries with Xia Hong the day before, despite wearing coarse linen garments, the 2 young men now had an air of arrogance between their brows. Especially Chen Yu, when discussing the overall scale of cold resistance level of Great Xia, he showed obvious contempt on his face. Unlike the 2 young men, Chen Yimu and the other 3 middle-aged men did not immediately respond to Chen Yiking's earlier question. They slightly lowered their heads, apparently pondering the deeper meaning behind Chen Yiking's words. Upon hearing his son's words, though Chen Yiking immediately shook his head, he didn't directly refute but instead contemplated for a moment, recalling that unlike him, who has been here for almost half a month, the 7 only arrived in Hongmen City the night before last. He then took out a dozen small porcelains of different colors from his side pack, placing them directly on the table. "The treasure tower has been restructured. Now entering requires asset verification. Since you only wandered along South City streets these 2 days, first take a look at these 10 types of Dan medicine." Chapter 1197, Chapter 404, All 6 towns arrive, hand over the culprit, divine machine crossbow, oath 2. Chen Yimu, along with 4 middle-aged men, and Chen Yu and Chen Huang, the 2 young men, immediately became curious and picked up the porcelain bottles to take a look. As the bottles were opened one by one, the 6 of them inhaled the different aromas emanating from the Dan medicine, their expressions more and more astonished. Beast essence pill, beast spirit pill, blood spirit pill, blood plasma pill, blood shaping pill, yang yuan pill, dragon carp pill, green cod pill, black death pill, bone condensing pill, bone gathering pill. In total, I've bought 19 kinds of spirit pills from the treasure tower, suitable from 6-year-old children just forming their 5 viscera meridian, logging realm, earth digging realm limit with reshaping skin, cold resistance level, peak of cold resistance level, all the way to Xianyang level. This complete set of Dan medicine resources, the entire Great Xia comprehensively commands them, and moreover the quality of these Dan medicines can all rival that of our Qin King. Chen Yimu couldn't help but speak directly, echoing his thoughts. Chu Dongning, He Yang, and Zhu Dong, all 3 holding the Dan medicine, heard this and their brows flickered slightly, but they didn't say more. Among the Ice Abyss people, anyone who hasn't broken through to the cold resistance level has an average lifespan of only 40 years, which means anything that can enhance cultivation efficiency is an indispensable precious resource for any camp. And Dan medicine absolutely counts as one of the most crucial among them. The corresponding value is that anyone with some cultivation can determine the quality of Dan medicine just by smelling it. Although Chu Dongning and the other 2's actual cultivation is not as good as Chen Yiking's, they have no problem judging the quality of Dan medicine. Based on their personal perception, the quality of the dozens of Dan medicines Chen Yiking took out should not merely be comparable to that of Chen Kang, but rather higher. They could see through it, and so could Chen Yimu. He intentionally said this, clearly motivated by a sense of pride as people of Chen Kang, unwilling to admit that Great Xia's Dan medicine was better than Chen Kang's. Of course, Chu Dongning and the other 2, including Chen Yiking, shared this sentiment, so they did not expose Chen Yimu's words. They just nodded slightly. "Better than us is just better, dear uncles. Why the need to hide it?" Mid the silence, a female voice suddenly rose in the room. It was Chu Yanner, who had been standing by the window. With a slight twitch of her delicate nose, she sniffed the fragrance of the Dan medicine and immediately judged that these Dan medicines were all of better quality than those from Chen Kang. She directly exposed the little thoughts of the 5 men. If the difference between the brothers Chen Huang and Chen Yu with Xia Hong during their meeting 2 days ago was only that they added a little bit of arrogance between their brows, then the change in Chu Yanner's demeanor at this moment was so drastic it seemed as if she were a different person. She was clearly holding a somewhat coarse face. Her beauty was not top tier, not even superior. Yet her pair of lively, beautiful eyes showed more confidence and composure than those of Chen Huang and Chen Yu when facing the 5 men. Seeing that the 5 did not respond, she smiled and continued. Our Chen Kang is wealthy with the lands of 5 prefectures and 2 lakes, with millions of citizens, a prideful feudal town, naturally broad-minded, and how could mere spirit pills not be of concern? Upon hearing her words, Chen Yiking and the 5 middle-aged men, including Chen Yu and Chen Huang, couldn't help but show a trace of shame on their faces. Chu Yanner then lightly raised her hand, pointing at the spirit pills on the table, her eyes showing a hint of arrogance. Furthermore, the formulas for these great Xia spirit pills will sooner or later be used by our Chen Kang, so what does it matter if they're good or bad? Her voice was full of confidence, and even her every move exuded a noble temperament from within, which formed a stark contrast with her coarse linen clothes. At my age, I'm no longer as insightful as the little princess, living 58 years in vain, truly ashamed. Chen Yiking stood up directly from his chair, bowed to Chu Yanner, and the other 6 immediately followed suit, bowing to her. Unlike the 5 middle-aged men, Chen Yu and Chen Huang, when saluting Chu Yanner, had undisguised admiration in their eyes. When the 7 saluted her, Chu Yanner's face showed no trace of embarrassment, just lightly raised her hand towards Chen Yiking. Just unintentional words, no need for this, Uncle Chen. Yanner has just arrived, unlike Uncle Chen who has managed this place for over 8 years. You must know the situation in the 9 towns really well. I observe that Uncle Chen is so wary of Great Xia. The reason must be more than just these spirit pills, right? Indeed, if only a few spirit pills, how could I? It has begun. Chen Yiking immediately became solemn upon hearing this question, nodded heavily, and began to answer it, but was interrupted by Chu Yanner halfway through. What could have begun? The army is gathered at Hongmen. It seems Great Xia does not intend to hand over the real culprit. Hearing the slightly angry voice of Yang Zhun from the sky above, the expressions of the 7 in the room all suddenly brightened, quickly following Chu Yanner to the windowsill, looking northward at the sky above the ministry building. The 8 had just chatted over so much content, quite some time, totaling nearly 200 breaths from start to finish. That is to say, from the moment Yang Zhun appeared above the ministry building to when he spoke the first word, nearly 200 breaths had passed. The reason Yang Zhun took so long to speak was not hard to guess. Just looking at the expressions of the people on Great Xia's side reveals it. When Yang Zhun and the 12 appeared, Xia Chuan led over 100 people from inside the ministry building. They looked up directly at the 12 in the sky, transitioning from expressions of nonchalance to being gradually intimidated by the 12 Xianyang-level powerful auras, to when Yang Zhun spoke, except for the first 2 or 3 dozen, almost everyone had beads of sweat trickling on their foreheads. Chapter 1198, Chapter 404, The 6 Towns Arrive Together, Hand Over the Culprit, Divine Machine Crossbows, Oath Betting Part 3. Lord Xia Hong, why haven't you come out yet? Afraid? Impossible. Isn't everyone saying that Lord Xia Hong's power has already surpassed Lord Yang Zhun, making him the number 1 among the 9 towns? That's just rumors. The 2 haven't really fought, who knows? Afraid? Certainly not. Lord Xia Hong must be intentionally staying hidden. Watch carefully to find out. Lord Yang Zhun, just relying on a letter of accusation, you want to tarnish the name of Great Xia. That's too frivolous. As Xia Chuan spoke, everyone's gaze in South City slightly sharpened. Although Xia Hong has yet to appear, many believe he will eventually come. Today, the gathering of the 6 lords is attended by lords, or at least Xianyang-level strongmen. No matter how strong Xia Chuan is, he is merely at the cold resistance level cultivation, lacking the power or status to step up. The key issue is that from the moment Yang Zhun and the 12 appeared, Xia Chuan hasn't performed even the most basic salute, which is clearly excessive. Just like when Zai Huzhang first appeared at Qinghipu, not only did Jiangxia town salute him, but even the cold resistance level of the other 7 towns saluted him as well. This is the essential respect due to those of Xianyang level, an unspoken rule acknowledged by all at the south slope of Mo Mountain. Great Xia has integrated into the 9 towns for over 4 months, Xia Chuan knows this. Impossible. Everyone instantly realized Xia Chuan is doing it on purpose. So arrogant. Before Lord Xia Hong arrives, does Xia Chuan dare to be so arrogant? Xia Chuan's power is still unclear, at most around 40 do. Even 50 do won't do. That's Lord Yang Jun, the first recognized strongman among the 9 towns of Mo's southern slope. Lately, haven't they been saying Xia Hong is the first of the 9 towns? Xia Hong's reputation is spread, but Lord Yang Jun's position as first was earned 10 years ago, snatched straight from the hands of the former first Shangyuan Yang. In midair, Yang Jun did not respond to Xia Chuan. He merely looked down and stared at Xia Chuan for less than 10 breaths before shifting his gaze, releasing his presence to sense around the ministry building. Noticing no Xianyang-level presence inside, his expression instantly darkened. Xia Hong, have you become a turtle hiding in its shell? Bold. Yang Jun's attitude clearly showed that Xia Chuan wasn't worthy to converse with him, hence why he ignored Xia Chuan. Realizing Xia Hong wasn't inside the ministry building, immediately speaking with scorn, trying to provoke Xia Hong. Yet unexpectedly, instead of provoking Xia Hong, his statement immediately elicited an angry shout from Xia Chuan. Whoosh! Yang Jun remained unresponsive, but beside him, Beishuo Town Chief, his brother Yang Fa, seeing his brother's majesty challenged once again, finally couldn't hold back. He suddenly hurled the silver long spear in his hand, the target clearly the crowd in front of the ministry building where Xia Chuan stood. Not just Xia Chuan alone, but everyone around him. Xianyang-level power is measured in Du, capable of hundreds, even with merely throwing a long spear. Yang Fa instantly created a silver pillar of light in midair, fiercely targeting Xia Chuan's circle as it plunged down. Know this, Yang Jun's group is currently only about 100 meters from the ground, and the long spear thrown almost reached its target in an instant. Release. Whoosh. Yet at this critical moment, a fierce shout suddenly emerged from the military zone behind the ministry building, followed by a 3-meter-long silver long spear shooting through. That silver long spear's power was astonishing, forming a silver pillar of light in midair, precisely striking Yang Fa's long spear. Boom! The 2 silver light pillars collided fiercely in midair, the force so intense that it didn't produce the usual clang of gold and iron, but straight up created a thunderous explosion, making the entire sky above Hongmen City quiver. What's that? A long spear. Does someone in Great Xia excel at spears? Not a spear, it's an arrow, a 3-meter-long silver crossbow arrow. Look at the barracks, something is being pushed out. They blocked. Yang Fa retrieved his long spear, feeling the return power from it, his expression suddenly stunned, then looked down at the barracks behind the ministry, where giant iron wheel cars were being pushed out one after another. His expression instantly froze upon seeing the giant crossbow arrows on them. Since Town Chief Yang took the first move, it's not my Great Xia's fault. Xia Chuan's face suddenly broke into a smile, giving the impression he had been waiting for the Xianyang level of the 6 towns to make the first move. As his voice fell, 20 special divine machine crossbows had already been lined up one after another on both sides of the ministry building. Noteworthy is that, before being pushed out, the divine machine crossbows were already loaded with silver giant arrows. Just like when Xia Hong led others to deal with the white dew monster, at the fore of every divine machine crossbow stood one person ready to aim, surrounded by hundreds of golden armored soldiers who tethered ropes to keep the front, middle, and back bowstrings taut. Obviously, as soon as the leader gives the command, everyone will simultaneously release their ropes, and the crossbow arrows will fly out. At this moment, the silver giant arrows on all 20 divine machine crossbows, without exception, were aimed at Yang Fa in midair. The first crossbow arrow just now was shot by Director Yuan. Can this crossbow arrow threaten Xianyang level? Didn't you see? That crossbow arrow shot back Town Chief Yang's long spear. Just look at Town Chief Yang's face. Not just Yang Fa, the other 11 people's faces have changed. Chapter 1199, Chapter 404, 6 towns arrive together, hand over the culprit divine machine crossbow, sworn oath. They release. At the moment when 20 divine machine crossbows appeared, the command seemed to be handed over to Yuan Dao. He operated the first divine machine crossbow, and after a command, all 20 divine machine crossbows simultaneously released their strings. Boom, boom, boom. 3-meter-long silver-made giant arrows with a diameter almost as large as a fist. Rather than crossbow arrows, they were more like long spears. Though the divine machine crossbow and the Ice Abyss people's commonly used longbow share the same principle, their power is not on the same level at all. These silver giant arrows, when launched from the crossbow mechanism, didn't produce the normal piercing whistle but directly exploded the air with a booming sound. After flying out, the 20 silver giant arrows instantly absorbed the surrounding airflow, transforming into beams of light, directly flying towards Yang Fa in midair. Due to the airflow being instantly emptied by the arrows at the front, the dozen giant arrows at the back had no air resistance at all. Compared to the first arrow Yuan Dao shot alone, the power was increased by at least twice. Block it! At this moment, Yang Zhen and others in midair, who had been indifferent all along, finally couldn't remain calm. During the interval of the first wave of 20 silver crossbow arrows flying in, Yang Fa's face instantly turned pale. Watching the over 10,000 people in South City, he bit his teeth and surprisingly didn't choose to evade, but instead raised a long spear to prepare to block. Clang, clang, clang. He swung the long spear fiercely, splitting 2 crossbow arrows in succession, but when the third arrow shot at his chest, he finally couldn't react in time. At this moment, Yang Zhen spoke. As Yang Zhen opened his mouth, he also helped deflect the third arrow. Simultaneously, the other 10 Xianyang-level warriors moved, successively blocking all the arrows. Fire arrows. However, this was only the first wave. Yuan Dao and others didn't give Yang Zhen and the 12 any time to react. Right after launching the first crossbow arrow, a second one was already loaded onto the crossbow mechanism. Boom, boom, boom. Just after repelling the first wave of arrows, Yang Zhen and others began to face the baptism of the second wave of crossbow arrows. The third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave. By the sixth wave, Yuan Dao deliberately staggered the firing times, dividing the 20 divine machine crossbows into 2 teams, letting Luo Yuan handle the second team, as the 20 crossbows alternately shot into the sky continuously. Block them, we must go down and destroy those 20 divine machine crossbows. Army, listen up. Encircle anyone who dares to come down. Xia Chuan's voice was almost synchronized with Shangyuan Yang's. After he issued the command, 30,000 soldiers uniformly emerged from the barracks building north of the ministry building, all clad in Lei Qi golden armor, holding standard blades, swiftly surrounding the 20 divine machine crossbows tightly. The front 5,000 soldiers put down their weapons, took strong bows from behind them, loaded silver sharp arrows one by one, directly drew the bowstrings fully, aimed at the 12 people in midair but did not release the arrows. Old Lord Shangyuan, why don't you try being the first to come down? Upon hearing Xia Chuan's ridicule, Shangyuan Yang's face instantly flushed red. Although fury surged within him, he could only continuously swing his Saiyan twin sabers to deflect the silver giant arrows shooting at him, unable even to respond to Xia Chuan. Shangyuan Yang was like this, and the situation for the other 11 Xianyang-level warriors was no better. The crossbow arrows shot by Great Xia were simply too powerful. It could be seen that warriors like Yang Zhen, Qin Feng, Shangyuan Yang, and other 6 towns lords could easily deal with these arrows, whether blocking or evading posed no real issue. But warriors like Yang Fa Mu Long, Shangyuan Long, Yi Tianhao, whose strength was only between 4 to 9 Jun, found it difficult even to dodge these arrows, let alone block them with their own strength. As a result, they only had 2 options. Either turn around and flee, or rely on Yang Zhen and others to help block. The problem is, what was the purpose of the 6 towns coming together today? In front of over 10,000 cold resistance levels and tens of thousands of earth-digging realm warriors in South City, under the eyes of the crowd, they couldn't even think of escaping. Any form of retreat today would turn the 6 towns into a laughingstock in Mo South Slope. Thus, they kept slashing at Great Xia's crossbow arrows in midair. Occasionally, Yang Zhen, Qin Feng, and Shangyuan Yang, who were stronger, tried to rush down, only to abandon the thought as they looked down at the mass of tens of thousands of soldiers below. The strength of Xianyang-level warriors is indeed formidable, but certainly not omnipotent. Great Xia gathered an army of 30,000 below, with no fewer than 7 to 8,000 cold resistance levels. Even slightly descending, the front row of 5,000 drawing arrows is enough to pose a significant threat. Thus, the powerful 6 towns lords, who came in unison, found themselves in an immensely awkward and embarrassing predicament, neither able to flee nor stay without becoming targets. The crux is that whatever choice they make, they would surely end up as a joke to the tens of thousands in South City. This awkward and embarrassing situation nearly caused Yang Zhen's chest to explode with fury. Looking down at Xia Chuan in front of the ministry building, the fire in his pupils burned even hotter. "Big brother, calm down. Xia Hong hasn't appeared yet." Noticing Yang Zhen's growing rage, Yang Fa couldn't help but utter a reminder, which slightly halted the extreme anger of Qin Feng and Shang Yuan Yang, quickly dismissing the thought of rushing down. "What's this about? Great Xia doesn't need Xia Hong's presence, just relying on crossbow arrows. They can block the 6 towns." Chapter 1200, Chapter 404, The Arrival of the 6 Garrisons, Hand Over the Culprit, Divine Machine Crossbow Vows. I remember the treasure tower also sells crossbow mechanisms. Why hasn't the great Xia put these divine machine crossbows out for sale to us? Hee, you're dreaming. Would they sell such a treasure capable of threatening the Xianyang level? So Lord Xia Hong really doesn't need to show up then. This time, the 6 towns might really make a fool of themselves. That's not right. Those silver crossbow arrows are clearly 1,000 forged level. Just forging one might cost tens of thousands of pounds of silver. How much could the great Xia have? It seemed as if the great Xia heard the discussions from the people in South City. Suddenly, a large group of golden-armored soldiers brought over 5 large carts from the camp. All the carts were covered with tarps. Once they reached beside the 20 divine machine crossbows, the soldiers directly uncovered the tarps. As soon as the tarps were lifted, silver light burst forth. The 5 carts were loaded with 3-meter-long silver crossbow arrows. A quick count showed that each cart had at least 1,000 arrows. Not only the onlookers from South City, but even the 12 Xianyang levels in the sky, including Yang Zhen, froze upon seeing those arrows. Halt! However, much to everyone's surprise, Xia Chuan actually waved his hand to voluntarily halt the divine machine crossbows. In the instant the divine machine crossbows stopped, realizing that the arrows were no longer present, the murderous gazes of Yang Zhen, Qin Feng, and others immediately turned downward. Yang Fa, Mu Long, and others who had just suffered a bit even made motions as if they were going to charge down. But it was just a motion. Because although the arrows had stopped, the bowstrings of the divine machine crossbows hadn't relaxed at all. Yuan Dao, along with Yuan Cheng, Yue Feng, and 19 others, still had their arrows set, aiming firmly in their direction, ready to fire. Regarding the external announcement from Lord Yang Zhen, I, the minister, have read it. If the 3 towns are here today to resolve problems with our great Xia, I, the minister, welcome them. It isn't impossible for the Lord to show up for a meeting. But if you're here to cause trouble, don't blame our great Xia's divine machine crossbows for being indiscriminate. Xia Chuan spoke again, and up in the air, the 12 under Yang Zhen didn't dare act as they did before. They all looked down at Xia Chuan with not only anger, but also a strong sense of resentment on their faces. They haven't even faced the main figures yet, and they've been forced into such a predicament by a group at the cold resistance level. Yang Zhen is becoming more regressive as he ages, and to think Lord Landgrave once praised him, saying Beishuo had what it takes to be a feudal town. At the South City Tavern, Chen Yimu couldn't help but shake his head repeatedly. Yang Zhen's strength isn't weak. The key issue is that great Xia's divine machine crossbow indeed has something in it. Judging by the reactions of Yang Fa and others, the power of the crossbow arrows from the divine machine crossbow is at least 9 jin strong, enough to threaten most at the Xianyang level. The main factor is the continuous shooting. A single crossbow arrow from the divine machine crossbow should be about 7 jins in power. When multiple arrows are lined up, wind resistance decreases, giving around a 30% increase in power, which is how they can reach 9 jins. Zhu Dong, having some expertise in machinery, spoke up. As he described the situation, the others recalled the scene of the crossbow arrows being fired, and they all nodded immediately. Uncle Chen, this divine machine crossbow from Great Xia is very useful for us at Chen Kang. No matter what, you must get your hands on its design blueprint and bowstring materials. At this moment, Chu Yanner suddenly spoke up. Upon hearing her words, Chen Yiking immediately nodded heavily and cupped his hands, saying, "Rest assured, little princess, I Chen understand." Chu Yanner nodded, her face showing a gentle light, and said, "The great Xia indeed has some skills. It seems like Xia Hong has noticed something. By intentionally not appearing, he let Xia Chuan negotiate with Yang Zhen and the others first. He wants to leave room to adjust his strategy timely. I'm curious to see how he will respond. Chen Yiking's expression slightly darkened at her words, and a trace of a peculiar look flashed in his eyes. Notice something, I doubt it. Oh yeah? Solving problems, is it? So Great Xia doesn't dare to admit that Yuan Cheng killed 13 of my Beishuo Chamber of Commerce's people. Yang Zhen finally spoke. Even with 20 divine machine crossbows and 30,000 troops, he had no choice but to converse with Xia Chuan, regardless of how unwilling he was in his heart. If he didn't speak now, he would have to turn around and leave. Empty words without evidence. You can't just blame someone for a killing because Lord Yang Zhen claims it so, can you? As soon as Xia Chuan said this, the atmosphere immediately became a bit more tense. Anger instantly appeared on Yang Zhen's face, and beside him, Beishuo Town Chief Yang Fa's eyes filled with intense killing intent as he looked at Xia Chuan. And among the over 10,000 people in South City, including the other 5 towns, Xianyang levels in the sky, their expressions turned a bit strange. After noticing people's expressions, Xia Chuan lowered his head in thought for a moment but quickly figured it out. It's better to obtain a promise from Yang Zhen than a hefty amount of silver. This phrase is widely spread in the Mo 9 towns. Yang Zhen's reputation for keeping his word is well known in the 9 towns. His words were like a firm slap to Yang Zhen. Despite understanding this point, Xia Chuan had no intention of changing his words. He merely looked calmly at Yang Zhen, waiting for his response. Xia Chuan, you merely. It was Yang Fa who couldn't hold his silence any longer. He apparently wanted to berate Xia Chuan, but just as he uttered 3 words, Yang Zhen stopped him with a raised hand. Bring Yang Ning here. Upon hearing this order, Yang Fa turned and flew backward. Yang Ning. Hearing this name, Xia Chuan's brow slightly furrowed. Yang Ning, the one mentioned in the external announcement as having witnessed Yuan Cheng's atrocities firsthand. Also surnamed Yang, a member of the Yang family from Beishuo. Can the words of a Yang family member be trusted? For Yang Zhen to dare bring him over, he must be confident. The over 10,000 people in South City instantly reacted and were engaged in fervent discussions. Inside the tavern, upon hearing that Yang Zhen intended to bring Yang Ning over, Chen Yiking and the 8 others couldn't help but show a smile on their faces. Yang Ning had clearly been brought over by Yang Zhen and his group long ago, presumably placed somewhere near Hongmen City. It took less than 100 breaths, and Yang Fa brought him forth. Although Yang Ning was being carried by Yang Fa, as soon as he arrived, he meticulously searched below. Soon, he identified his target on top of a divine machine crossbow. His pupils instantly bloodshot as he pointed and shouted furiously at the man on the crossbow. It was him, Yuan Cheng, it was him. He's very strong. He killed my 3rd grandfather Yang Fan, along with my grandfathers Yang Pu and Yang Yun. He also killed Brother Shu and Brother Ding, a total of 13 people, all killed by him. Nonsense, I killed. Yuan Cheng, shut up. The tether-holding Yuan Cheng couldn't help but angrily retort. But before he could finish, Xia Chuan interrupted him. Xia Chuan looked up at Yang Ning and asked seriously, putting aside whether Yuan Cheng alone could kill all 13 of your Beishuo chamber members, as far as I'm aware, you were injured that day, and Li Hu was seriously wounded. Even if Yuan Cheng could kill 13 people in a row, how did you and Li Hu survive? Hearing this question, tears welled up in Yang Ning's eyes, as if recalling the scene of that night. With a somber expression, he said, the 3 grandfathers and 2 cousins, along with several other elders, sacrificed their lives to save us. They hid us in a cave. That Yuan Cheng searched the surroundings several times, but we dared not reveal ourselves and finally escaped by sheer luck. Saying this, he once again fiercely stared at Yuan Cheng below, his face brimming with vengeful fury as he shouted, "It was him. I saw it with my own eyes. He did it all alone using that double-edged giant axe." As he spoke, his emotions suddenly became agitated. He turned to look at Yang Zhen and Yang Fa and held up his right hand, swearing loudly, "Great-grandfathers, if what Ninger says is false, may my cultivation never progress an inch in this life, and may I be struck down by 5 thunderbolts in the future." The Ice Abyss's oath doesn't necessarily work. The key is that everyone is extremely sensitive about their cultivation. As Yang Ning made this oath, all over 10,000 people in South City instantly fell silent. Yang Zhen and Yang Fa both slightly closed their eyes, their thoughts unreadable, but their faces showed an expression of grief, as if mourning the 13 deceased. Xia Chuan, on the other hand, appeared slightly surprised, then instinctively turned to look at Yuan Cheng on the divine machine crossbow, with a questioning look in his eyes. Could it really be that you did it? Chapter 1201, Chapter 405, Taking the Blame, struggle for first place, playing dirty when outmatched, smoldering with anger. What left Xia Chuan and the others stunned was that this was just the beginning. After Yang Ning spoke, Cao Qianyang and Long Minjuan in midair both turned their heads toward South City. Among the group near the main building of the government office in South City, 2 young men of a similar age to Yang Ning immediately stepped forward. Their faces were full of resentment, and as soon as they stepped forward, they angrily pointed at the 2 divine machine crossbows, shouting. On the night of September 3rd, director of the Great Xia Military Department, Yuan Dao, killed our Yonk Merchants president, Cao Tianhong, along with 8 others. Cao Yuanwu was also present that night. If there's any falsehood like Brother Yang, may my cultivation never advance in this life, and may I be struck by 5 thunders in the future. On September 5th during the day, director of the Great Xia Camp Supply Department, Qiu Peng, killed our Dragon Valley Merchants president, Long Wenyan, along with 9 others. Long Bohai witnessed it with his own eyes. If there's any falsehood like Brother Yang and Brother Cao, may my cultivation never advance in this life, and may I be struck by 5 thunders in the future. Yuan Dao and Qiu Peng were dumbfounded upon hearing this. The 2 exchanged looks with Cao Yuanwu and Long Bohai, seeing their slightly trembling fingers and eyes filled with deep resentment and anger. For a moment, they even suspected if they were the ones who committed the murders. Who wouldn't swear an oath? I Yuan Cheng also swear if it really was me. At this moment, Yuan Cheng finally came to his senses. If he stayed silent, those 3 hefty accusations were sure to be pinned on Great Xia today. It was on my order as the Lord that they did the killing. However, Yuan Cheng's words were not finished before he was interrupted by someone else. From the northwest side of the ministry building, in the direction of the Hongmen Pass, 4 figures suddenly rushed forward, similar to when Yang Zhen and his 12 men appeared. Those 4 figures equally emitted a blazing strong light, instantly causing the temperature near the ministry building to rise significantly. Finally arrived. He directly admitted it. Was it really people from Great Xia who did the killing? Lord Xia Hong admitted it with his own mouth. What's there to doubt? But why? Yeah, Great Xia had no reason to kill the 3 towns Chamber of Commerce's people, right? After selling so many cultivation resources, why would Great Xia kill them? Xia Hong appeared and directly admitted it was he who ordered the killings, causing the entire South City to erupt in debates. The vast majority of people immediately believed that it was Great Xia who committed the murders. Only a small group smelled something unusual and began to voice doubt. When Xia Hong's voice reached South City Zhao's restaurant, the expressions of 8 people in the top-floor elegant room immediately darkened. Xia Hong directly admitted. Shouldn't there have been disputes? Isn't this different from what we anticipated? Did Xia Hong just take the blame? Among the 8, only Chen Yiking and Chu Yanner remained silent. Chen Yiking had an unusually grim expression. Chu Yanner frowned deeply, clearly in thought. Soon, Chu Yanner figured something out, raised her head, and stared at Xia Hong, who had just appeared in the distance, her eyes flashing with understanding. She said, Xia Hong must have guessed this trap. He knew all along that Yang Zhen and the others were confident enough to make everyone in the 8 towns believe that it was Great Xia who did it. So he delayed revealing himself, letting Xia Chuan force Yang Zhen's tactics out first. Once Yang Ning and the other 2 spoke, he knew it was a confused and unclear account, and no matter how they tried to self-verify, it wouldn't be clear. Instead of self-verifying before the 6 towns, letting Great Xia fall into a disadvantage, it was better to actively shoulder the blame. What a formidable lord of Great Xia, having such courage. The 7 listening were first puzzled at those words, but then understood after some sober thought, their expressions subtly shaken. Yuan Cheng was just about to swear an oath too, and not just him. Everyone in the city could hear that it was Xia Hong who actively interrupted him to take the blame. It's not that Yuan Cheng's oaths were useless, but at this critical moment, even if he swore an oath, it would do nothing to alter the fact that Yang Ning, Cao Yuanwu, and Long Bohai's words were already preconceived as true. Even if Yuan Cheng swore, the trust he could gain wouldn't surpass those three. Moreover, the oaths of these three were to accuse and testify. If Great Xia were to also swear, it would be a self-verification. Once trapped in self-verification, the consequences would be more than just a simple disadvantage. But even taking this blame won't gain Xia Hong any favor. The 6 towns having suffered such humiliation won't take it lying down. In the future, Great Xia will still have a difficult time at Mo's southern slope. Clearly, as the mastermind of all this, Chen Yiking's tone was filled with noticeable unwillingness. Chu Yan'er naturally heard it. She shook her head slightly and continued in a low voice while looking at Xia Hong in the distance. It's only a temporary measure. Xia Hong won't have come so far without having a backup plan. Today was supposed to be the 6 towns banding together to suppress Great Xia, but now it seems it'll become Great Xia using the 6 towns to establish authority, solidifying its position as the hegemon of Mo. She paused, then looked at Xia Hong high in the sky, with a hint of trepidation in her eyes as she continued. Uncle Chen, you've misjudged this time. Chen Yiking's brows furrowed sharply upon hearing this, turning to look at Xia Hong, still with a trace of unwillingness in his eyes. It was on my order as the Lord that they did the killing. When Xia Hong uttered these words, Yang Zhen, Qin Feng, and Shang Yuan Yang were visibly taken aback at first, then instantly showed anger. Meanwhile, Cao Caiyanyang and Long Minjuan's fury flared up in an instant, their faces flushing red. Lord of Chui Mountain, Duan Hong, was even more direct, sneering coldly as he shouted in anger, "It's good you have the guts to admit it. I have long since declared that Great Xia and the recently destroyed Daju Temple are birds of a feather, bound to be the new scourge of Mo's southern slope. And in just over 4 months, it has indeed come true." Chapter 1202, Chapter 405, Taking the Fall, Struggle for Supremacy. If you can't win, then cheat. Burning with Frustration, Part 2. In a whirlwind of black attire, Xia Hong moved with an air of authority, followed closely by Zaihu Zhang, Murong Chui, and Xiang Fuhai. The 4 of them rose into the air above the ministry building, confronting Yang Zhen and his 12 companions head-on. Clown. After Duan Hong finished speaking, the only response from Xia Hong was a dismissive clown. At the end of April, during the Hongmen banquet, he was publicly humiliated by Xia Hong. Both camps on Hongmen Peak, along with Bashing City, fell into the hands of Great Xia, and out of fear of Great Xia's might, he had complied by sending his share of supplies from Bashing Prefecture to Hongmen in May. Duan Hong harbored a deep-seated hatred for Great Xia. Joining forces with the other 5 towns to suppress Great Xia filled him with excitement. But before meeting Xia Hong himself, he was once again humiliated by Xia Chuan with the divine machine crossbow, leaving him seething inside. After his remarks, Xia Hong merely called him a clown, not even treating him as a lord of one town. The fury that surged within him was predictable. Duan Hong glared at Xia Hong, clenching his fists tightly inside his sleeves. His right hand instinctively reached for the big saber. But as he looked up and remembered the Hongmen banquet at the end of April, he twitched with frustration, turned to Yang Zhen and the other lords of the 4 towns and angrily said, "Brother Yang, everyone, since Great Xia has admitted to the killings, what is there to discuss? Remember why we've come today, don't you?" Yang Zhen and his 4 companions looked down at the imposing 3,000 troops of Great Xia near the ministry building. Hearing Duan Hong's words, they frowned deeply before raising their heads to face Xia Hong. At the April Hongmen banquet, Lord Xia Hong vowed alliance with the 8 towns to lead Great Xia into the Mo South Slope. Yet, in less than 5 months, you start slaughtering the people of our 3 towns. Is this how Lord Xia Hong practices alliance? Unlike Duan Hong's earlier speech, Xia Hong furrowed his brow upon hearing Yang Zhen's words, immediately adopting a serious expression. He looked directly at Yang Zhen, not answering his question but instead asking with a hint of a smile, "Ever since Great Xia crossed the Xing River north bank, the talk I hear most often is about Beishuo Lord Yang Zhen, said to be the number 1 in the 9 towns. As a newcomer, I'm inclined not to believe. Now that we're face to face, Brother Yang, is this title of the top in the 9 towns self-proclaimed, or just a baseless rumor?" Well, upon Xia Hong's utterance, whether it was the 11 Xianyang level experts like Yang Fa, Qin Feng, Shang Yuan Yang in the sky, or the over 10,000 cold resistance level warriors of the 8 towns in South City, including the tens of thousands hiding inside the houses, the city was abuzz. Lord Xia Hong is challenging Yang Zhen. Nonsense, it's obviously a challenge. To ask if it was self-proclaimed or rumor-mongered, he's clearly not recognizing Lord Yang Jun as the top of the 9 towns. There's been chatter for over 4 months now about Xia Hong replacing Yang Jun as the number 1 in the 9 towns. Are we finally going to see it today? Lord Xia Hong didn't respond to Lord Yang Jun's earlier question, though. Isn't questioning his strength a response? For leaders at their level, is there anything more potent as a response than questioning one's strength? Indeed, in the end, it all boils down to strength. Yang Jun's pupils bore a hint of astonishment, clearly taken aback that the situation had escalated to this point. Xia Hong, astonishingly, had issued a challenge to him in front of everyone. It's important to understand that this moment was being observed by over 10,000 cold resistance-level warriors, and only a minority were from the 8 township cities. The majority, including the tens of thousands of earth-digging realm folks, populated all village-level camps within the 8 towns' territory. This essentially meant that Xia Hong was challenging him in front of the entire Mo South Slope, and the result of this battle would undoubtedly spread rapidly throughout the region. With merely an 11 Jun force to have such audacity. Recalling their brief encounter at Bashing City in early May with Xia Hong, Yang Jun was filled with confusion and perplexity. At Bashing City, they had clashed over possession, both of them unleashing their full strength when they confronted each other. Naturally, it wasn't a life-and-death struggle, and he understood that Xia Hong surely had cards yet to play. But did Yang Jun not have his own cards? Yang Jun glanced at the crowd of Great Xia near the ministry building, seeing the fervent confidence and fervor in their eyes for Xia Hong. A smile slowly emerged on his face. Facing Xia Hong, he raised his silver long spear without any unnecessary words. Self-proclaimed or rumored, it matters not. Since Lord Xia Hong disbelieves, then let our skills settle the score. A glint of disdain appeared in Yang Jun's eyes. With so many eyes from South City upon him, retreat was no longer an option. Today's arrival was meant to suppress Great Xia, and by first embarrassing Xia Hong in front of the cold resistance-level warriors of Great Xia and the 8 towns, the upcoming matters would proceed more smoothly. Woo! With this thought, Yang Jun wasted no time, leaping into the sky, stopping 300 meters above the ground to face Xia Hong, with his spear slightly raised. Good. SHHH. Without uttering another word, Xia Hong's dragon sparrow saber unsheathed with a resonant sound, and his body transformed into a brilliant streak, shooting straight into the sky.